Chapter 2871. Little Yen, although the Dragon King guided you and helped you break through, it's best that you don't get involved in such matters. Even the sanctuary wouldn't dare to get involved, let alone you. If we're not careful, not even our bones will be left. 8 Desolations. Which member of the Witch Alliance is easy to bully? Even the Imperial Court isn't much weaker than us. In the hall, an Emperor God from the sanctuary continued to speak to Hong Fengyan. I know. Hong Fengyan nodded her head slightly. It's good that you know. The other 4 looked at each other, shook their heads and walked out. Hong Fengyan stood there quietly for tens of seconds before she flew back to her palace. Yeluing, don't you think the Emperor Gods from the 8 Desolations are too arrogant? How dare they threaten us? Boss Wang should kill them all. Now that the Witch Alliance and the 8 Desolations have teamed up, will the Dragon King of Dragon Palace still be a match for them? I know Boss Wang very well. It won't be long before we kill them all. But they are an alliance of 3 forces. When she arrived at the main hall, she heard the conversation between Invincible Warlaw and his disciple. Master. Master. Yeluing and the rest greeted Hong Fengyan respectfully when they saw her. Emperor God Hong Feng. Emperor God of Shangshui and Invincible greeted her immediately. Both of you have come from afar. After the ceremony, let my disciples show you around. Hong Fengyan smiled and said. Thank you, Emperor God Hong Feng. Invincible chuckled and replied. Has the Dragon King replied to your message? Hong Fengyan asked them after hesitating for a few seconds. Not yet. What is Boss Wang doing now? Invincible shook his head with a straight face. Buzz. However, something on his chest suddenly vibrated. Invincible was stunned as he took out the communication stone plate on his chest immediately. It's a message from Boss Wang. He's heading towards us and has entered the Sanctuary Star Zone. Invincible exclaimed in surprise when he saw the message on the communication stone plate. He said that he was cultivating a while ago and didn't see our message. He also said that he couldn't make it on the first day of the ceremony, but he could make it on the second day. He continued. Is the Dragon King coming soon? Yeluing and the others asked in surprise. I'm on the way. It'll probably take another 7 or 8 hours. Invincible said with a grin. Hong Fengyan's eyes flickered and she nodded her head slightly. She looked at her disciples at the side and said, Go to the Sacred Tower and book the entire top floor. Tomorrow, go to the Water Divine Emperor with the Dragon King and enjoy the delicacies of the Holy Region. Yes, Master. The disciples immediately said happily. We have to inform the Dragon King about the alliance between the Imperial Court Witchcraft Association and the 8 Desolates so that the Dragon Palace can prepare in advance. The Upper Water God Emperor said slowly. Hong Fengyan also nodded her head slightly. The addition of Ba Huang to the 2 superpowers could be a nightmare for the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, this sacred region is so peaceful. Moreover, there is news of God Emperor Crimson Wind breaking through everywhere. At this very moment, on a planet in the sacred region, Wang Xian was leading 6 Wind Divine Dragons on a teleportation journey from one planet to another in the Imperial Star region. The group of Wind Divine Dragons who were on a long journey for the first time, looked around curiously. They had been cultivating and had no understanding of the various star regions in the resplendent starry sky. The sacred region is very peaceful. It has been close to 10 years since it was unified. However, it is also because it is peaceful and the competition isn't intense. Therefore, there aren't many Emperor Gods in the sacred region. However, the sacred region has a strong foundation. They are much stronger than the Imperial Court at their peak. Wang Xian explained to them. The group of Wind Divine Dragons nodded their heads slightly. Wang Xian looked around and saw news of God Emperor Crimson Wind breaking through everywhere. The birth of an Emperor God in the sacred region was a joyous event for the entire Imperial Star region. We will reach the Saint Nation in the center of the sacred region in 7 hours. Wang Xian looked at the map and said, the sacred region was huge. If they were to fly over, they would need half a month. Wang Xian made his way through the teleportation. After 7 hours, they arrived at their destination, the Saint Nation. The Saint Nation was a sacred land floating in the universe. Could be called the Sky Nation. The entire enormous holy empire was the Void Divine Empire of a fallen God Emperor. The entire Void God Nation was huge and not smaller than the Dragon Island. According to the rumors in the sacred region, the owner of the Void God Nation was a terrifying existence from billions of years ago. He had the strength of a peak Emperor God. After billions of years, most parts of the Void God Nation had decayed. However, even if it had decayed, it was still a blessed land. God Emperor Crimson Wind has advanced to an Emperor God. It's a blessing for the sacred region. With one more Emperor God, our strength has increased tremendously. The grand ceremony this time was spectacular. Moreover, it was my first time seeing our sacred master. It's a pity that the Imperial Court Emperor and 8 Desolation Emperor are a little disappointing. They actually warned the sacred region and God Emperor Crimson Wind publicly. The Dragon Palace is a little too arrogant. They are already enemies with the Imperial Court Sorcerer Association. Both sides are evenly matched. Now they have offended the 8 Desolation. Now that they have joined forces, the Dragon Palace is doomed. I guess the Imperial Court Sorcerer Association and the 8 Desolation are also afraid that we will join forces with the Dragon Palace. Hence they are here to test the waters. Our sacred master is naturally not willing to participate. However, God Emperor Crimson Wind is a little uncertain. The reason why God Emperor Crimson Wind could become an Emperor God is all because of the Dragon King. If the Dragon Palace is courting death, don't drag us down. God Emperor Crimson Wind, please don't drag us down. This grand ceremony is all their fault. It's a little disappointing. When Wang Xian arrived at the Saint Nation through the teleportation array, he heard the discussions around him. When Wang Xian heard their discussions, he raised his eyebrows slightly and his eyes glowed. Who would have expected the Imperial Court Sorcerer Association to join forces with the 8 Desolation? Moreover, they joined forces so quickly. He murmured in surprise. It would take at least 4 to 5 months to reach the 8 Desolation from the Heavenly Witch Domain. However, they had joined forces in just over a month. There was only one possibility. The experts from the Imperial Court Sorcerer Association just happened to be in the 8 Desolation. This is really unexpected. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings. The reason why he dared to offend the 8 Desolation was because the 8 Desolation was very far away from the Heavenly Witch Domain. The chances of them joining forces were not high. However, he did not expect them to join forces so quickly. The 8 Desolation was also so daring to join the battle. Maybe they thought the 3 forces could annihilate the Dragon Palace completely. Wang Xian laughed in disdain. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, please collect. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System mobile game bar updates the fastest. Chapter 2872. Instantly insta-killing 2 God Emperors. Zhong based on the strength of the Dragon Palace during the battle between the Imperial Court and the Dragon Palace during the Sorcerer meeting, the Dragon Palace would suffer a fatal blow if the 8 Desolates joined in. But now, inside the Dragon Palace, there were 3 other Wind Divine Dragons in the midst of improving their strength. In half a month's time, they would possess the strength of a second-order God Emperor realm expert. At that time, including himself and Xiaolan, the Dragon Palace would have 5 second-order God Emperor realm experts. After this Hongfeng Yen celebration, the 3 Wind Divine Dragons will head directly to the Heavenly Witchcraft Domain and destroy the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Association. Wang Xian said coldly. Dragon King, they are being disrespectful to our Dragon Palace. A Wind Divine Dragon beside him whispered to Wang Xian. It's fine. Let's go to the center. As Wang Xian spoke, he moved and flew towards the center of the Holy Nation. At the same time, he took out the communication stone plate and sent a message to Invincible and Yeluing. Master, the Dragon King sent me a message. He has already entered our Holy Kingdom. At the center of the Holy Empire, on the bustling street in front of the Holy Empire's central palace, a towering tower rose into the sky. This was the Holy Empire's mother-child sacred tower. The Holy Tower was the symbol of the Holy Empire, and they were currently in the Holy Tower. The Holy Mother Tower was located in the central palace of the Holy Empire. The Mother-Child Holy Tower were the 2 tallest structures in the Holy Empire. The Sun Holy Tower was slightly lower than the Mother Holy Tower. Now, the Sanctum Sanctum was open to the public. Standing on top of the Sanctum Sanctum, one could overlook the entire Holy Empire. However, although it was open to the public, ordinary people still did not have the ability to enter. Even if you had money, you might not be able to enter. At the top of the sacred tower, Hong Fengyan was playing chess with the Upper Water God Emperor. Yelu Ying and the rest were playing with Battle Fa Wudi at the side. Upon receiving Wang Xian's message, Yelu Ying immediately reported to her master. Boss Wang also sent me a message. I've sent our location to Boss Wang. He should be here soon. I'll go down and welcome him. Invincible also walked over and said. Let's go too. Hong Fengyan hesitated for a moment before speaking. Alright, let's go down and wait. The High Water God Emperor also nodded. Since the Dragon Palace's Dragon King had arrived, they naturally had to welcome him. But isn't it a bit? Also, the two from Imperial Court and 8 Desolation haven't left yet. The Upper Water Divine Emperor looked at Hong Fengyan and said hesitantly. It's fine. They came here to warn me not to join their war. If I didn't directly announce it, would they dare to force me? Hong Fengyan said indifferently. That's true. I'm also alone. If they force us, they'll be the fools. The Upper Water God Emperor laughed, stood up and walked outside. Hong Fengyan also stood up and walked out. The invincible Yelu Ying and the others immediately followed behind. Greetings, Sir God Emperor Scarlet Wind. Greetings, Sir God Emperor Scarlet Wind. When Hong Fengyan arrived at the entrance of the sacred tower, all the surrounding sanctuary experts and disciples were slightly shocked and hurriedly bowed respectfully. Some of the weaker ones even knelt on the ground. It's nothing, there's no need to be so polite. Hong Fengyan's gaze swept across the crowd. She waved her hand and stood near the entrance of the sacred pagoda. As the symbolic building of the holy nation, there were many people gathered around the sacred pagoda. Some sanctuary experts would occasionally bring people in and out of the sacred pagoda. Now that their Emperor Scarlet Wind was standing beside the sacred pagoda, everyone was shocked. Greetings, Sir God Emperor Scarlet Wind. The surrounding people, even those who were more than 10 kilometers away, bowed respectfully as long as they saw Hong Fengyan. She was one of the 6 strongest people in the sanctuary who held great power in their hands. Do what you have to do. Hong Fengyan waved her arm and a breeze lifted everyone up. Actually, it's not bad to be an emperor god of a force. The Upper Water Divine Emperor scanned the surroundings. When he saw this scene, he smiled at Hong Fengyan. If the Upper Water God Emperor is interested, you can join our sanctuary. If you join us, we'll also host a lively banquet. Hong Fengyan joked. No way. I prefer freedom. The Upper Water God Emperor laughed. Cough cough. Master, you can return to Glaze Star region. I also want to be an awesome second generation. At the side, Invincible said softly. Bam. However, in the next moment, his body was pressed into the ground by the Upper Water God Emperor. Only his head was left outside. The Upper Water God Emperor stared at Invincible. Apparently, Invincible had said something he didn't want to hear and had touched on a sore spot. Upon seeing this, Yelu Ying and the rest couldn't help but laugh. What's going on? Why is our Emperor God Emperor Scarlet Wind standing at the entrance of the sacred pagoda? He looks like he's waiting for someone. I don't know. The old man beside him is also an Emperor God. He's the Upper Water God Emperor Scarlet Wind. He's an Emperor God that our Emperor God Emperor Scarlet Wind befriended. They should be waiting for someone. For our Emperor God Emperor Scarlet Wind and another Emperor God to wait at the entrance, it must be another Emperor God. Is it our sacred master? I don't think it's our sacred master. If it's him, he would have gone to the Mother Sacred Pagoda instead of coming here. Who could it be then? Around them, the crowd discussed softly after bowing to Hong Fengyan. From time to time, they would look over in that direction with curiosity in their eyes. We're here. I can already feel their aura. Not far away from the sacred pagoda, Wang Xian led the 6 wind divine dragons over with a smile. Looking at the sacred pagoda ahead, he quickened his pace. Soon, a few familiar figures appeared in his sight. Dragon King over here. When Wang Xian approached, Hong Fengyan, Upper Water God Emperor and the rest also noticed him. Yelu Ying looked at Wang Xian's back, waved her hands excitedly and shouted loudly. Regardless of the dispute between the Dragon Palace and the Imperial Court, the Dragon King of Dragon Palace was the only powerful Emperor God that she knew and had spoken to so many times. Especially when this Emperor God was the leader of a powerful force. Yelu Ying felt very close to Wang Xian and was proud of him. Look, Yelu Ying, know the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. Dragon King? Dragon King of Dragon Palace? Around the sanctum, some of the people who were paying attention to the situation heard Yelu Ying's words, and their bodies trembled. Their eyes widened in shock. Dragon King. In this resplendent starry sky, only the Dragon King of Dragon Palace could be called Dragon King. Could it be? At this moment, everyone's gazes turned to the front. A young man with a crown on his head walked toward them. Chapter 2873. That's the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. He looks so young. Look at that Dragon King. If you don't look closely, he doesn't seem to exist. But if you look closely, he's so eye-catching. I have to say that the Dragon King is really handsome. He has a powerful aura. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace actually came to our sanctuary. It seems like he's on good terms with Emperor God Red Wind. The Emperor Gods of Imperial Court and 8 Wilderness are still here. Dragon King might not know that 8 Wilderness and Imperial Court are working together. If the Imperial Court, the Witches Association, and the 3 major forces of the 8 Desolates form an alliance to attack the Dragon Palace, the Dragon Palace will probably be hard-pressed to resist. It's not a good thing for our sanctuary that the Dragon King of Dragon Palace is here. The experts and disciples of the sanctuary around the sacred tower were shocked, curious, and surprised to see Wang Xian and the rest. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace had come personally. He was the leader of the top 3 forces in bedazzling starry sky. However, in their opinion, the current situation of the Dragon Palace was rather perilous. If the 3 forces really joined forces to attack the Dragon Palace would probably encounter a great calamity. I'm late cultivating in Dragon Palace. Congratulations on advancing to Emperor God. Wang Xian could hear the discussions around him clearly, but he wasn't bothered. He came to Hong Fengyan and spoke with a smile. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace is giving me face by coming here. Hong Fengyan chuckled and gestured to Wang Xian. Wang Xian chuckled and followed them to the top of the sacred tower. Everyone was watching as the Dragon King of Dragon Palace followed Emperor God Red Wind into the sacred tower. This is big news. The Emperor Gods of Imperial Court and 8 Wilderness just reminded Emperor God Red Wind during the ceremony. Now, Emperor God Red Wind is receiving the Dragon King. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace is here. This will shake the entire sanctuary. Everyone watched as they entered the sacred tower, their eyes filled with astonishment. Boss Wang, you're finally here. We thought you wouldn't come. Invincible Battle Law grinned and said on the top floor of the sacred tower. I forgot about time during cultivation. I didn't expect you to break through so quickly. Wang Xian smiled. This is all thanks to your wind jade. Hong Fengyan said with a smile. She waved her hand and got her disciple to prepare some food. By the way, does the Dragon King know about the alliance between the Ba Huang and the Imperial Court? The current situation is very bad for the Dragon Palace. The Upper Water God Emperor reminded Wang Xian as the group sat down. I'll learn a little on the way. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly and looked at Hong Fengyan. Did the Imperial Court and 8 Wilderness Emperor Gods threaten you during the ceremony yesterday? It's not exactly a threat. It's just a warning to us, the sanctuary, not to get involved in your matters. Hehe, the sanctuary is the sanctuary and I am me. There are some things that I want to decide. Our sacred master will not stop me. Hong Fengyan said with a smile. You don't need to get involved in this matter. Wang Xian shook his head and smiled. Boss Wang, can the Dragon Palace withstand the alliance of the 3 forces? Invincible came over and asked with concern. Although it is surprising that the 8 Desolation, the Witchcraft Union and the Imperial Court have joined forces so quickly, the Dragon Palace will still be able to handle it. Wang Xian replied with a smile. It's good that they can handle it. You have no idea how arrogant those 2 guys were yesterday. Invincible said from the side. Is that so? Wang Xian squinted his eyes. That's a small matter. They're just putting on an act. They don't dare to be arrogant in the sanctuary. They are also afraid of forcing us to the Dragon Palace. Hong Fengyan shook her head indifferently. Master, the dishes are here. Dragon King, this is the most famous delicacy in the sanctuary. At this time, Yeluing walked over and said with a smile. Haha, the best dish in the sanctuary. I'm going to have a good taste. The Upper Water God Emperor chuckled. While Wang Xian and the group were chatting and eating, the entire sanctuary was in an uproar because of his arrival. The communication device in the sanctuary was also using the artificial intelligence system. Now, the entire artificial intelligence system was filled with news about the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace arriving in the sanctuary. Everyone in the sanctuary was shocked by the arrival of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. What is the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace doing here? Is he trying to get us to stand on the same side as the Dragon Palace? That's possible. Otherwise, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace would have arrived yesterday. They might have found out about the alliance between the 8 Barons and the Witch Association of the Imperial Court. Hence, they want to ally with the sanctuary. Yesterday, during the Emperor Red Wind's Emperor Ascension ceremony, the 2 Emperor Gods from the 8 Barons of the Imperial Court were a little disappointed. They even threatened us. However, our Sacred Lord has also said that we won't participate in the war between them. The Dragon Palace is courting death. Don't drag us into it. The sanctuary has always been peaceful. On the artificial intelligence system, everyone in the sanctuary was discussing the arrival of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Sacred Lord, Lord Red Wind and the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace are in the sacred tower. Now that Lord Red Wind and the Dragon King are so close, could it be, at the same time, on the Mother Saint Pagoda located in the central palace of the sanctuary, a few sanctuary guardians stood respectfully before the Sacred Lord and reported the news. Ignore it. If the Dragon King wants to visit me, just say that I'm not here. The Sacred Lord held the scepter, leaned on the chair and said with flickering eyes, "Yes." The few guardians nodded as they understood the situation. The Sacred Lord wasn't meeting the Dragon King because he was sending a signal to the two Emperor gods from the 8 barons. However, if Emperor Red Wind insisted on helping the Dragon Palace, they couldn't do anything about it. Emperor God Shenwu, I've received news that the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is here. In a luxurious sky garden not far away from the central palace of the sanctuary, an Emperor God from the 8 barons was holding onto an artificial intelligence system as he spoke to Emperor God Shenwu, who was drinking wine in the study room. Huh. Emperor God Shenwu's eyes narrowed as he stood up slowly. Emperor Red Wind has received the Dragon King personally. He is at the sacred tower now. Obviously, Emperor Red Wind didn't take our words to heart. The Emperor God from the 8 barons said coldly, "What about the Sacred Lord of the Sanctuary? What's their reaction?" Emperor God Shenwu asked coldly with a tinge of murderous intent. There's no reaction from the Sacred Lord. The Emperor God from the 8 barons shook his head. If that's the case, let's go over and ask Emperor Red Wind what his intentions are. Is he courting death after breaking through to the Emperor God realm? Emperor God Shenwu said coldly, "All right. If he really wants to be our enemy, don't blame us for making things difficult for him. Don't blame us for being impolite." The Emperor God from the 8 barons nodded in agreement. The two of them moved and flew towards the sacred tower. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, please collect. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System mobile game bar updates the fastest. Chapter 2874. During the Emperor Ascension Ceremony of God Emperor Crimson Wind, all the experts in the Holy Region came to pay their respects. This caused the entire Holy Empire to be extremely lively. The gigantic Holy Empire was currently slightly crowded. As the symbolic building of the Holy Empire, countless people gathered at the sanctum. Within the Holy Empire, there was a rule that prohibited anyone below the Undying God King stage from flying. Only saint-level elders and above were allowed to fly here. Normally, elders and protectors wouldn't fly in the Holy Kingdom unless there was an emergency. It's in the sanctum up ahead. At this moment, Imperial Court and 8 Desolation God Emperors were floating in the air above the sacred tower. They stared at the top of the sacred tower with cold eyes. Question Emperor God Red Wind again. If Sacred Master and the others don't come out, everything will be fine. But if they do come out, we must immediately inform the sorcerers, Monarch Lord, Emperor God Desolation and the others to make preparations. This time, no matter what the result is, we will leave immediately. God Emperor Shenwu said to the 8 Desolation God Emperor. The Octoterra God Emperor nodded and frowned. If the sanctuary really participated in this war and stood on the side of the Dragon Palace, then the 8 Wilderness would have to reconsider. Emperor God Hongfeng. The two of them hovered at the top of the sacred tower and shouted in the direction of the room at the top. At the highest point of the sacred tower, Hongfeng Yin, who was chatting with Wang Xian and the rest, was taken aback. She looked outside through the window. When she saw the 2 figures outside, she narrowed her eyes slightly. Why are they here? The Upper Water God Emperor was taken aback and frowned as he looked over. Imperial Court God Emperor, 8 Desolation God Emperor? Wang Xian looked at the 2 figures and his eyes flickered. What are these 2 guys doing here? What a disappointment. I can tell that these 2 are up to no good. The faces of Yeluing and the others who were invincible also changed slightly as they looked outside. Hong Fengyan stood up and walked to the window, staring coldly at the 2 figures outside. I wonder what is the matter between Emperor God Shenwu and Emperor God Sanyan? Hong Fengyan stared at the 2 of them expressionlessly and asked plainly. What's going on? A voice came from the top of the sacred tower. The sudden appearance of 2 figures attracted the attention of many people in the surroundings. The 2 God Emperors from Imperial Dynasty and 8 Desolation. What are they doing? This is? What are they trying to do by coming to find Sir God Emperor Red Wind? Not good. They must have seen the Dragon King. That's why they came to find trouble with our Lord Emperor God Red Wind. Around them, some people lifted their heads and looked at the sky above the sanctum. Some of the experts in the sacred tower opened their windows and frowned as well. Holy Master, the God Emperors of 8 Desolation and Imperial Court have gone to find Xiao Yan. At this moment, on the Mother Holy Pagoda, which was far away from the Sun Holy Pagoda, the 5 Emperor Gods of the Sanctuary were sitting on the top floor of the Holy Pagoda. An old man frowned and looked in the direction of the Sun Holy Pagoda. With his strength he could see everything over there. Xiao Yan is a little stubborn. In addition, it was all thanks to the Dragon King that she could make a breakthrough to Emperor God. She should make her own choice. If the Dragon Palace could get through this, it would be beneficial for Xiao Yan. The Holy Lord shook his head helplessly. Holy Lord, if the Octaterra Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Association really join forces to attack the Dragon Palace, how will the Dragon Palace defend against them? If they can withstand it, it will be too heaven-defying. I guess the Dragon Palace will be finished. Xiao Yan is deeply involved with the Dragon Palace. What if? An Emperor God of the Sanctuary shook his head and said with a frown. It's not our place to stop Xiao Yan. The Emperor God by the side said helplessly. Let's see. The Holy Lord sat there calmly and looked in the direction of the Sun Holy Pagoda. Emperor God Red Wind, before you leave, we are here to bid farewell to you. In front of the Sun Holy Pagoda, Emperor God Shen Wu said to Hong Fengyan with a smile. Oh, then I shall not send you off. Hong Fengyan said faintly. There's no need for Emperor God Red Wind to send you off. It's just that we received news that the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is here and Emperor God Red Wind is receiving him. The Emperor God from 8 Desolation looked cold as he sneered. Do I need to report to the 2 of you who I want to invite? Hong Fengyan replied coldly. Emperor God Red Wind, in that case, you are determined to become enemies with the Imperial Court, the Witchcraft Association and the 8 Desolation? Emperor God Shen Wu laughed out loud and asked in a cold tone. When the surrounding people heard this, their faces changed. If they were to reply, it would mean that their Emperor God Red Wind would have to participate in the war between the Dragon Palace and the 8 Desolation Witchcraft Association. In a war of this level, even an Emperor God would die if they were not careful. If my standpoint requires it, so what if I become enemies? Hong Fengyan replied faintly. Standpoint? Is this your position, Emperor God Hong Feng, or your sanctuary's position? The Emperor God from 8 Desolation stared at Hong Fengyan. Of course it's my standpoint. Yesterday our Holy Lord also expressed his standpoint. Holy Lord can represent the sanctuary while I only represent myself. Hong Fengyan replied faintly. All right. Emperor God Red Wind, I have to give you a reminder. You have just become an Emperor God and you have to learn to be low profile. If you stand on the wrong side, you might even pay with your life even if you are an Emperor God. The Emperor God from 8 Desolation laughed as he spoke coldly. They are threatening our Emperor God Red Wind. Sigh, our Emperor God Red Wind is really involved in this mess. Our Emperor God Red Wind is too righteous. Since the Dragon King helped our Emperor God to break through to the Emperor God realm, our Emperor God will stand with the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King is playing with fire. It's fine for you to offend one powerful force in the resplendent starry sky. Now that you have offended 2 or 3, you are digging your own grave. All the experts from the sanctuary whispered with a sullen expression. They shook their heads helplessly. They could not do anything about Emperor God Red Wind's choice. Pay with my life? In the room on the top floor of the sacred tower, Wang Xian heard them and revealed a tinge of murderous intent. He walked towards Hong Fengyan and patted her shoulder to get her to move away from the window. Are you guys courting death by threatening the friends of the Dragon King? Wang Xian stood before the window and looked at the 2 Emperor Gods from 8 Desolation. Dragon King. When they saw Wang Xian, they narrowed their eyes. Dragon King, you won't be able to be arrogant for long. Emperor God Shenwu's eyes were filled with hatred and murderous intent as he stared at Wang Xian. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, the Emperor Gods from 8 Desolation are not easy to kill. Next you will pay a heavy price. The Emperor God from 8 Desolation said coldly. I think you guys are really courting death. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on Green Bean. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend Green Bean. Please collect if you like Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System updates the fastest. Chapter 2875. I think you're courting death. Wang Xian stood in front of the sacred pagoda window and stared at the two of them. A cold murderous aura rushed towards them. Umph. The two of them harumphed coldly when they felt Wang Xian's killing intent. They retreated cautiously. Dragon King, wait for our revenge. The two of them said in a low voice. You talk too much nonsense. Since you're here, don't think of leaving. Wang Xian looked at them. He moved his body slowly and came out of the window. Buzz. In the next moment, the unbeginning sacred wings appeared behind him. Huh. Their expressions changed when they saw Wang Xian flying out. They were on high alert. Dragon King, we will meet again soon. The next time we'll be on the battlefield. God Emperor Shenwu roared with a gloomy face. Go. The two of them looked at each other and with a move of their bodies they flew back. Since the Dragon Palace had a powerful array master like Tianjin, they had to be careful not to be trapped in the array. Dragon King scared them away. Good. Some of them discussed softly when they saw Dragon King flying out and the two God Emperors preparing to leave. Did I allow you to leave? At this time Wang Xian's voice rang out again. God Emperor Shenwu and God Emperor Sanyan's faces turned black. Between God Emperors, it was extremely difficult to kill each other. In the same realm, under the situation of trapping the other party, it would require 3 God Emperors to work together to kill the other party. Without a spatial sealing array, 3 God Emperors could forget about killing a God Emperor of the same level. Even if a second-order God Emperor realm expert wanted to kill a first-order God Emperor realm expert, the only way was to catch them off guard and severely injure them. If the other party was prepared, a first-order God Emperor could escape from a second-order God Emperor. Dragon King, don't be arrogant. When Emperor God Shenwu and Emperor God Shanyan heard what Wang Xian said, they turned around and shouted at him. At the same time they were on high alert. Go. Without any hesitation they sped up. Facing the Dragon King, the leader of the Dragon Palace, there was a tinge of fear in their hearts. I said, don't think of leaving since you're here. Seeing that they were trying to escape, Wang Xian's eyes turned cold. Before he could finish his sentence, his body had already disappeared. In the next moment, a scene that no one could have imagined occurred. By the time he finished his sentence, Wang Xian's hands were already on their necks. Emperor God Shenwu and Emperor God Shanyan, who were preparing to leave, were dumbfounded. They did not have the slightest time to react. They did not even sense that the Dragon King had grabbed them by the neck. Both of them trembled and swallowed their saliva. They turned their heads with much difficulty and looked at Wang Xian. Did you know? All of you deserve to die. Wang Xian looked at them and replied without any change in his expression. How is this possible? Their pupils constricted and their faces were filled with shock. How could he capture them before they could even react? What kind of speed was this? They had already raised their guard. Even if it was their Lord God Desolation, even if it was the monarch, it would be hard for them to stay if they were to fight. However, the Dragon King caught them in an instant. They couldn't react to this terrifying speed at all. Isn't the Dragon King a first-order God Emperor? What is going on in front of them? Your speed, your strength? Emperor God Shenwu widened his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with disbelief. Die. You two are courting death. Wang Xian moved his body. Boom. In the next moment, Wang Xian landed below the sacred tower. Emperor God Shenwu and Emperor God Shanyan landed heavily on the ground. Wang Xian stepped on both of them with one foot. Their 7 apertures were bleeding and their eyes were wide open. However, there was no sign of life in them. 111. The surrounding sky of the holy nation changed drastically. A sorrowful wail was heard. Fire clouds rose and the ground trembled. 2 emperor gods had fallen and the sky changed. Go. At this moment, everyone around the sacred tower was stunned. Their eyes were wide open as they looked at the scene in shock and horror. From the moment Wang Xian flew out to the moment the 2 emperor gods were about to leave. At the start, they were still discussing to vent their anger. However, the Dragon King wanted them to stay with him. In the next instant, the 2 of them were caught by the Dragon King. In the next instant, the 2 emperor gods' corpses fell below the sacred tower and were stepped on by the Dragon King. No one in the surroundings could see clearly what was going on. When they came to their senses, the 2 emperor gods were already dead. Those are emperor gods. 2 emperor gods. Atop the sacred tower, the saints who were paying close attention to the battle were all trembling. They knew the might of an emperor god. The sanctuary congratulated Emperor God Hongfeng for becoming an emperor. A god emperor was a high and mighty existence. An unparalleled existence. However, 2 emperor gods were killed by the Dragon King of Dragon Palace in an instant before their eyes. In an instant, they could not resist at all. Everyone felt their scalps prickling when they saw this. The 2 emperor gods who threatened Emperor God Hongfeng were dead just like that. Those are 2 emperor gods? Everyone was in disbelief. They had witnessed the fall of 2 emperor gods. How strong is this Dragon King? At this moment, they looked blankly at the Dragon King of Dragon Palace, who was standing there calmly. What kind of existence was that? Untouchable. The faces of the Saint Realm experts in the surroundings were filled with reverence. This was the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. He had risen in such a short period of time. With the strength of Dragon Palace alone, he was not at a disadvantage against the Imperial Court and Witch Alliance. He had even chased them for hundreds of millions of miles. This was the legendary Dragon King of Dragon Palace in the starry sky. How terrifying. This, at the top of the sacred tower, Emperor Hongfeng Yen, Water God Emperor and the rest were dumbfounded when they saw Wang Xian kill the 2 emperor gods. Invincible's eyes widened as he pointed below with trembling body. This boss Wang is too heaven-defying. After more than 10 seconds, Invincible Warrior roared in shock. Boom. In the sky above the Holy Mother Pagoda, the Holy Lord and the 4 sacred region god emperors who had been watching the fight stood up when they saw Wang Xian killing Emperor God Shenwu and Emperor God Shan Yen. How is this possible? Sacred Lord held the scepter in his hand tightly as he was shocked. He had witnessed the speed of the Dragon King just now. This kind of speed made him feel terrified. The moment the Dragon King made a move, he knew he was no match for him. Moreover, with such terrifying speed, it would not be difficult for the Dragon King to kill him. Those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, please collect. The Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, Green Beans updates are the fastest. Chapter 2876. You can search for Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System on Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. What terrifying strength. At the top of the Holy Mother Tower, the 4 First Order God Emperors from the Sanctuary region widened their eyes in shock. God Emperors Shenwu and God Emperor Shan Yen were on the same level as them. Yet they couldn't even put up a fight against the Dragon King. This caused them to be extremely shocked. If the Dragon King were to strike, they could only wait for death. No, they would be killed before they could even react. Terrifying strength and terrifying speed. Let's go. The Sacred Lord's expression changed. His figure flashed as he flew towards the Saint Pagoda. Disregarding the terrifying strength of the Dragon King, just the death of 2 God Emperors from the Imperial Court and 8 Wilderness was enough for them to go and take a look. Swish swish swish. The group of God Emperors from the Sanctuary region flew over quickly. You've brought this upon yourself. Wang Xian looked at the 2 corpses and kept them. Dragon King this, Hongfeng Yen and the rest flew down and saw Wang Xian keeping the corpses. They were shocked and didn't know what to say. It's fine. So be it. I'll bring some men to the Heavenly Witch region to wipe out the Imperial Court and Witch Society first. Wang Xian shook his head and didn't take this matter to heart. At this moment, the Sacred Leader and the other 4 who had just flown overheard Wang Xian's nonchalant words. They paused for a moment and their expressions changed slightly. Wipe out the Witch Society and Imperial Court? How arrogant. However, after witnessing the strength of the Dragon King, they had a sliver of faith in him. Holy Leader. Hongfeng Yen and the rest cupped their fists and greeted the Holy Leader when they saw him. You must be the Dragon King. I've heard a lot about you. Nice to meet you. The Holy Leader nodded at Hongfeng Yen before looking at Wang Xian and cupped his fists. Holy Leader, nice to meet you. Wang Xian looked at the old man and cupped his fists with a smile. I didn't expect the Dragon King to be so strong. Holy Lord sighed slightly. He smiled and gestured with his hand. Since the Dragon King is here, come and sit with us. All right. Wang Xian looked at Hongfeng Yen and nodded with a smile. Please. The Sacred Lord extended his hand and invited. Wang Xian nodded his head. With a swift move, he flew towards the Holy Mother Pagoda. The Water God Emperor and the others followed behind Hongfeng Yen. Invincible Battle Law followed behind excitedly and was extremely excited. Boom. Is this the strength of the Dragon Palace's Dragon King? Simply heaven-defying. Hiss, did you hear what the Dragon King said at the end? When he goes back this time, he'll directly take people to the Heavenly Wizard Domain and destroy the Wizard Association and the Imperial Court. His tone and momentum are unparalleled in the world. So domineering. Two God Emperors were instantly killed. Those two God Emperors even threatened God Emperor Red Wind. The Dragon King didn't say much and directly killed them. Simply too domineering. This is the aura of the leader of a peak force in the resplendent starry sky. Killing him on the spot, even a God Emperor must die. Damn, this is too domineering. This is too exciting. When they saw their sacred lord leading Wang Xian and the rest away, the surrounding sacred regions were in an uproar. At this moment they were secretly feeling pleased. Red Wind Emperor's ascension to emperor was a joyous occasion for the entire sacred region. Hence, they were unhappy that two God Emperors from the imperial court and 8 desolations came to threaten them. Hence, they were also unhappy with the Dragon King. Now that they saw the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace being so domineering and awesome, it was a great relief for them. In fact, if the Dragon Palace could really destroy the Imperial Court Wizard Association, it would be a good thing for the sacred region that Red Wind Emperor had such a good relationship with the Dragon King. Dragon King, I'm really impressed with your strength. At the same time, on the top floor of the Holy Mother Pagoda, the Sacred Lord spoke to Wang Xian with slight surprise. I was just lucky to get some opportunities. I'm impressed with you, Sacred Lord. In this resplendent starry sky, the sacred region is the most peaceful. Upon hearing the Sacred Lord's compliment, Wang Xian replied, Sometimes peace isn't a good thing. It can't produce an unparalleled expert like you, Dragon King. The Sacred Lord chuckled and replied, Sacred Lord, you really think too highly of me? Wang Xian smiled and shook his head. Both of them flattered each other. Dragon King, to be honest, I wasn't optimistic about the alliance between the 8 barons and the Imperial Court Wizard Association. However, after witnessing your strength, it's hard to say. The Sacred Lord said slowly. I'm indeed surprised that the 8 barons would join the Imperial Court and Wizard Association. However, the Dragon Palace doesn't take them seriously. If nothing goes wrong, I'll get rid of them very soon. Wang Xian said plainly. He had the confidence to say this. Half a month later, the 3 Wind Divine Dragons would be upgraded. At that time, the 5 Second Order God Emperor realm experts of the Imperial Court wouldn't be intimidated by the alliance of the 3 forces. In fact, Wang Xian had already decided to go to the Heavenly Witch domain after he returned. At that time, Wang Xian would let everyone in this resplendent starry sky know the consequences of going against the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian's words stunned the Sacred Lord in front of him. The 4 Emperor gods from the sanctuary could not help but gasp in shock. If it was in the past, they might have thought that the Dragon King was bragging. However, after witnessing the Dragon King's strength, it was possible. They also knew that the Dragon Palace had a second-order Void God Emperor realm expert. According to the information they received, the Dragon Palace had only 1 second-order God Emperor in the past, not the Dragon King. 5 years ago, the Dragon Palace could defeat the Imperial Court and Wizard Association alone. Now with the Dragon King's strength? Moreover, from the Dragon King's tone, he wasn't afraid of the alliance of the 3 forces. This meant that the Dragon Palace might have a second-order God Emperor. At the thought of this, they felt that the Dragon Palace was a little terrifying. Boss Wang, the strength of the Dragon Palace is too terrifying. Invincible Battle Law, who was sitting by the side, was shocked. Shut up. The Upper Water God Emperor glared at his disciple when he heard his disciple's words. Invincible Battle Law twitched his mouth. Boss Wang, if you're going to the Heavenly Witch domain, bring me along. He hurriedly said and then covered his mouth. Dragon King, the alliance of the 3 forces isn't weak. The Dragon Palace has to be careful. The Upper Water God Emperor glared at Invincible Battle Law again before turning to Wang Xian with a smile. I'm confident. Wang Xian replied with a smile. It's good that the Dragon King is confident. The sanctuary advocates peace and isn't in a position to get involved. If Xiao Yin wants to join, we won't stop her. I also hope that the Dragon Palace can dominate the starry skies. The Sacred Lord pondered for a moment before replying with a smile. At the same time, he conveyed the goodwill of the sanctuary. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System Latest Chapter Address. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System Full Text Reading Address. /39000/ Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System TXT Download Address. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System Mobile Reading Address. /39000/ For convenience of reading next time, you can click on the Favorite button below to record this time, Chapter 2882, Sweeping Across a Region. Chapter 2877. Sacred Lord, I would like to build an inheritance teleportation formation at the border of the sacred region. It would give us a planet, a barren planet with an ocean. In the Holy Mother Pagoda, Wang Xian spoke after talking with the Sacred Lord for more than half an hour. This was one of the reasons why he was here. Long-distance teleportation formation? Can the Dragon Palace build such a long-distance teleportation formation? The Sacred Lord asked in surprise. Sure. I would like to build a teleportation formation at a location near Tian Fa Ancient Sky region. It would be much easier to travel around in the future. Wang Xian smiled. Of course we can. We can go and find a planet for you right now to set up the formation, Dragon King. The Sacred Lord chuckled and stood up. Thank you very much. Wang Xian cupped his fist. Dragon King, follow me. We will go from this teleportation formation. As the Sacred Lord spoke, he waved his scepter and led Wang Xian and the rest down. This is the strategic teleportation formation of the sacred region. It can reach most planets directly. One of the sacred region emperor gods said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. We can reach this side at the border. The Sacred Lord waved his scepter and pointed at a spot. The teleportation formation lit up below them. In the next moment, they appeared in an empty space of a palace. Greetings, Sacred Lord and the other emperor gods. The soldiers guarding the area immediately knelt down in awe when they saw the Sacred Lord and the rest. The Sacred Lord nodded his head plainly and looked at Wang Xian. I remember there is a planet nearby. There are no humans living on it, but there are many dire beasts. Thank you, Sacred Lord. I will get my men to look for it. Wang Xian cupped his fist and gestured to the 6 wind divine dragons beside him. Roar, roar. The 6 wind divine dragons moved and immediately flew up into the sky. At the same time they let out a deep roar. Boom. A terrifying draconic aura rushed out from their bodies. 6 divine wind dragons with a wingspan of 20,000 meters spread their wings and flew toward the surrounding starry sky. This is when the 6 wind divine dragons revealed themselves and when the mighty dragon might filled the sky. Sacred Master and the group of emperor gods were slightly shocked as they stared at the wind divine dragons with widened eyes. What is this? What's this? Invincible Battle Law rubbed his eyes as he roared in shock. Divine Dragon, the legendary Divine Dragon, hiss. The body of the Sacred Lord beside him trembled, and his face was filled with shock. The Divine Dragon was the pinnacle of existence in the universe. It was a legendary race of heaven and earth. It was powerful and invincible. It's a wind divine dragon. Wang Xian stood by the side and said plainly. It can't be. Boss Wang, there's a divine dragon in the Dragon Palace. Is this a purebred divine dragon? Is this a purebred wind divine dragon? My invincible combat technique actually saw the divine dragon? Invincible roared in disbelief, his eyes burning with passion. The celestial emperors of the sanctuary looked at the bodies of the 6 wind divine dragons in awe and veneration. When they looked at the Dragon King, they were filled with respect. The Dragon Palace had a divine dragon. If other people in the bedazzling starry sky were to know about this, the entire bedazzling starry sky would be in an uproar. The legendary divine dragon was in existence at the peak of the universe. Such an existence could stand at the peak of the universe as long as they were given enough resources and time. This wasn't the peak of the bedazzling starry sky but the peak of the universe. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. They were already shocked after witnessing the terrifying strength of the Dragon King. However, the 6 wind divine dragons that the Dragon Palace displayed made them even more astonished. This was no longer a word to describe it as shocking. A dragon swimming in the shallows was nothing more than this. Dragon King, over here. Soon, the voice of a wind divine dragon was heard. Wang Xian looked over. With a move of his body, he appeared in the void instantly. Below, the Sacred Lord and the group were still standing there, staring blankly. Dragon Palace, Divine Dragon, Dragon King. Upper Water God Emperor murmured. Rumor has it that the rise of the Dragon Palace only took a few years, and they defeated the Imperial Court within a few years. Could the Dragon King have obtained the inheritance of the Divine Dragon? And Celestial Emperor of the Sanctuary said with his mouth agape. The inheritance of the Divine Dragon? Everyone's body trembled. The inheritance of the Divine Dragon was the pinnacle inheritance of the universe. Since the annihilation of the Divine Dragon race hundreds of millions of years ago, there was little information about the Divine Dragons. But there was no doubt that the inheritance of the Divine Dragon was heaven-defying. Let's go over. The Sacred Lord of the Sanctuary pursed his lips as he looked at Wang Xian with awe. Disregarding everything else, just the 6 wind divine dragons that the Dragon Palace displayed would make the Dragon Palace an existence that they would have to look up to in the future. Even if the 6 wind divine dragons weren't purebred divine dragons, they were still existences that they couldn't contend with. Divine dragon, it's actually a divine dragon. Yelu Ying and the rest exclaimed in a daze. Aha, no wonder the Dragon King improved so quickly. When we first met, he was only a divine lord. Now he has become an emperor god in less than 10 years. My invincible battle techniques is going to shine. I'm going to shine. At the side, invincible battle techniques danced with excitement. With the divine dragons in the Dragon Palace, as long as he cozied up to the Dragon King in the future, his invincible battle techniques would allow him to roam the universe, and no one would dare to provoke him. Ha ha ha. At the thought of this he couldn't help but laugh maniacally. However, at the side, the sacred lord of the upper water divine emperor and the other emperor gods were taken aback. A few years ago he was still a divine lord. Now he was an emperor god? This was simply going against the heavens. Wouldn't he reach an even higher level in a few years' time? They couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva as they observed a moment of silence for the 8 desolates of the imperial court. Get ready to die for offending the Dragon Palace that possessed the inheritance of the divine dragons. The dozen of them moved and flew towards the planet. At this moment the sacred region soldiers guarding the teleportation formation widened their eyes. They exchanged looks and could feel the deep shock from it. Was the Dragon Palace that terrifying? At this moment, Wang Xian had already entered the ocean of the planet and started to build the Dragon Palace. The speed of building the Dragon Palace with the system was fast. However, in the eyes of the sacred lords and the rest, this was the power of the divine dragons. Alright, we can reach our main Dragon Palace directly from here. I wonder if any of you are interested in visiting the Imperial Star Domain. After the Dragon Palace was completed, Wang Xian invited them with a smile. In that case, we shall accept your invitation. Chapter 2878. This is the Dragon Palace? Sacred leader and the rest entered the Dragon Palace. Looking at the majestic palace, their eyes sparkled. The Dragon Palace didn't shock them too much. After all, the current Dragon Palace was only a level 7 Dragon Palace. It could only withstand attacks from those below the Emperor God level. However, the majestic Dragon Palace, the mystical dragons circling around the pillars, and the huge dragon throne in the Dragon King Hall gave them the feeling that this was a pure mystical dragon. He had a feeling that this was where the Dragon God lived. Prime Minister Turtle, get ready to receive the guests. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle immediately answered and began to prepare. Prepare to attack the heavenly witchcraft domain in half a month. After entertaining the sacred lord and the rest, Wang Xian called Prime Minister Turtle over when the celestial emperors of the sanctuary flew out of the Dragon Palace to tour around the Dragon Island. Dragon King, will all the disciples of Dragon Palace participate in this expedition? Prime Minister Turtle pondered for a moment before asking. There's no need for that. Just lead the strongest disciples of the 100,000 Dragon Palace. All the Emperor gods will head out. Wang Xian shook his head as a cold gleam flashed in his eyes. Half a month later, the 3-wind divine dragons will complete their breakthroughs. At that time, with our strength, we will be able to sweep through the Imperial Court, the Witch Association, and the Heavenly Witch region. Wang Xian was brimming with confidence. Yes, Dragon King. I'll go and prepare now. Prime Minister Turtle immediately nodded. In the next few days, the Sacred Region's sacred leader and the others stayed on Dragon Island for 3 days before leaving. After they returned, the sacred leader directly announced that they would become friendly with the Dragon Palace of the Imperial Star region. As for the rest, he didn't announce too many things. After all, when they announced that they would become friendly with the Dragon Palace, it was a unilateral announcement. It was also the Sacred Lord and the others who had shamelessly announced this. The announcement of the sacred leader and the others caused the entire sacred region to be in an uproar again. Then, from a planet at the edge of the sacred region, came news that the Dragon Palace had a divine dragon, a real divine dragon. This caused many people to be extremely shocked. However, there was no evidence that the Dragon Palace had a divine dragon. Although there were countless people discussing it, not many people believed it. The strength of the Dragon Palace's Dragon King had spread throughout the sanctuary. Killing 2 god emperors in an instant? Killing god emperors was like killing ants. There were all kinds of comments. Shangshui Divine Emperor Hong Fengyan and the rest did not leave the Dragon Island. Knowing that the Dragon Palace was going to conquer the Heavenly Wizard Domain, Jean Fa Wudi excitedly prepared to follow along. Hong Fengyan was also prepared to follow the Dragon Palace. These few days they wandered around Dragon Island under Invincible Battle's lead. Half a month passed by quickly. When roars sounded from the Dragon Palace, the entire Dragon Palace started moving. 100,000 of the strongest members of the Dragon Palace quickly flew towards the Dragon Field. The leaders of the Dragon Palace God Emperor level flew over immediately. At the forefront, 9 Wind Divine Dragons swayed their huge bodies and flew over. The 3 Wind Divine Dragons in the center were all 25,000 meters in length and emitted a powerful aura. These 3 Wind Divine Dragons had broken through yesterday, and they now possessed the strength of Second-Order God Emperor realm. Boom boom boom. Behind the group of Wind Divine Dragons, the group of Dragon Palace leaders landed in front of the members of Dragon Palace. 13 God Emperors, 13 majestic figures. After killing 2 8 Desolation God Emperors and 1 Imperial Court God Emperor, the Dragon Palace had 3 more God Emperors. Including Wang Xian and the 9 Wind Divine Dragons, the Dragon Palace had a total of 23 God Emperors. Among them, Heavenly Formation strength could not be compared to an ordinary First-Order God Emperor. Next was Xiaolan and Xiaozha. Including them, there were a total of 25 God Emperors. Wang Xian came to the front of the group of Dragon Palace members, and his gaze swept across them. All members of Dragon Palace, get ready. He shouted, and the unbeginning Saint Wings appeared behind his back. His body exuded a powerful dragon might. Yes, Dragon King. The 100,000 members of Dragon Palace roared. Among these 100,000 members, the weakest had the strength of a 6th-order immortal God King. They were the most elite group of people in Dragon Palace. Let's go to Heavenly Witch Domain. Wang Xian waved his arm and shouted. Let's go to Heavenly Witch Domain. The group of Dragon Palace members roared. The 3 Wind Divine Dragons in the lead roared and flew forward, while the other 6 Wind Divine Dragons followed on their sides. Boom. Their wings trembled slightly, and a dragon sedan formed behind them. The dragon sedan was huge with a radius of 10 kilometers. In front of the dragon sedan there was a dragon throne. Let's go. Roving Sword and Prime Minister Turtle moved to the left and right of the dragon throne. One represented the dragon guards, while the other represented the important ministers of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian moved and came to the dragon throne. His voice sounded. The 9 Wind Divine Dragons roared, pulled the dragon throne, and flew out of the Dragon Palace. What? The Wind Divine Dragons emerged from the sea, and the group of Dragon Palace members followed behind. Woo woo woo. Just as they were about to catch up, they heard muffled sounds coming from both sides. The humongous Shaolan and the small mansion flew out from the sea. Get on the battle Kuan. Prime Minister Turtle ordered the group of Dragon Palace members. Yes. Swish swish swish. 60,000 Dragon Palace members flew towards Shaolan while 40,000 Dragon Palace members flew towards the small mansion. Given the size of Shaolan and the small mansion, not to mention 100,000 troops, they could even carry 1 million or 10 million troops. Oh my gosh. At the side of the Dragon Palace, Invincible Water Emperor Hong Fengyan and his disciples were speechless when they saw the scene. The 9 Wind Divine Dragons stood at the forefront, pulling a dragon sedan chair. Behind them were 2 humongous beasts that carried 100,000 members of the Dragon Palace. There weren't many people from the Dragon Palace this time around, but all of them were experts. Every one of them was a core existence in any force. It was especially so for those Emperor gods who were emitting terrifying auras. They could sense that there were a total of 25 of them. That was 25 Emperor gods. Before Hong Fengyan made her breakthrough, there were only 5 Emperor gods in the entire sanctuary. The Emperor gods of colored glaze are just SOSO. Shangshui Emperor murmured. Master, I want to go too. I want to stand on that huge beast and sweep across a region. I want to go with the divine dragons to destroy the Imperial Court and the Sorcerer Association. Invincible said to his master excitedly. If the Dragon King is willing to bring you along, you can go. Shangshui Emperor took a look at his disciple and said. Ah, great. Boss Wang, hold on. Bring me along. Invincible Fighter opened his mouth wide and flew over excitedly. Hee little brat, come over here. Wang Xian took a glance and smiled faintly. Chapter 2879. It won't be long before the entire resplendent starry sky is going to shake because of this. Hong Fengyan murmured as she looked at the Dragon Palace's expedition team. Yeah, it's the Divine Dragon's inheritance. The Imperial Court, Witch Assembly and 8 Desolation are in for it. Shangshui God Emperor lamented. Hong Fengyan wanted to join the expedition but Wang Xian didn't agree. Given the current strength of the Dragon Palace, there was no need for outsiders to participate. Wang Xian had complete information on the expedition to the Heavenly Witch Domain. The Dragon King and the rest are simply too powerful. Master, do you think the strongest force in the resplendent starry sky, the Azure Continent, is a match for the Dragon Palace? Yiluing asked her master curiously. Even if the Dragon Palace isn't a match for them now, they can easily surpass the Azure Continent in the future. Shangshui God Emperor answered. They had stayed on the Dragon Island for half a month. During this time they had a deeper understanding of the Dragon Palace. From the AI they could also know when the Dragon Palace had risen. In less than 10 years. It was terrifying. Given his understanding of the Azure Continent, it wouldn't take more than 10 years to surpass the Azure Continent. What's that? Where is the Dragon King bringing the two giant beasts to? Did something happen? Where are they going? The Dragon Island was bustling with activity once again. 9 divine dragons were pulling the Dragon Palanquin while Xiaolan's mansion was carrying 100,000 experts of the Dragon Palace. As they flew into the distance, they attracted the attention of many people on the Dragon Island. They looked at the enormous Xiaolan's residence with astonished expressions. The ordinary citizens of the Imperial Star Domain didn't know what was happening in the Eight Desolation or the Holy Region. On Dragon Island, some scouts from the Imperial Court and Shaman Guild frowned slightly when they saw this and immediately sent the news over. Woo woo woo. At this moment, the roars of the Kuan and Wind Divine Dragon rang out. In the next moment they disappeared rapidly. Given the speed of Xiaolan and the Wind Divine Dragon, those below the 5th Order God King realm wouldn't be able to see them clearly. Even though they were massive, they couldn't be seen when they flew at high speed. It was too fast. Dragon King, it will take 2 days to reach the Heavenly Sorcerer Domain, and half a month to reach the Mount Wu of the Sorcerer Domain. In front of the Dragon Sedan, Prime Minister Turtle reported to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. When we arrive at the Heavenly Witchcraft Domain, the Witchcraft Association will definitely receive the news in advance. However, the Sorcerer Union and the Imperial Court don't know the exact strength of our Dragon Palace. They definitely won't escape directly. After all, as sorcerers and powerful array masters, they're best at defensive battles. Prime Minister Turtle continued. How's the preparation for the Heavenly Formation? Wang Xian asked. Dragon King, the Heavenly Array has been waiting for this day for a very long time. Even if we don't say anything, he would already be fully confident. However, the Heavenly Array can't trap the Overlord and the sorcerers. Prime Minister Turtle said. However, Orochi also said that the wizards are very strong. Once you get close to them with your terrifying speed, they will be easier to kill than the Overlord. Prime Minister Turtle added. It would be best if we could kill both of them. Wang Xian murmured. It's fine if we kill one or injure the others. When the time comes, with the power of the Heavenly Array, they won't be able to escape through the array. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. That's true, but it's a little troublesome. Wang Xian smiled as he stared at the void in front of him with sparkling eyes. This was the battle where the Dragon Palace shocked the entire starry sky. It was also the battle where the Divine Dragon roared in the starry sky. After this battle, the dragon roared in the wild. The Heavenly Array geezer is going home. Orochi, who was on Xiaolan, looked at the Heavenly Array at the side and chuckled. Yeah, it's time to go home. The Heavenly Array wasn't bothered by Orochi's teasing tone as he looked ahead with a slight sigh. It's time to go home. The Imperial Star Domain was his home. After thousands of years of falling, he had finally returned. This time he would be able to kill his enemies with his own hands. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Finally, I'm going home. Ah! Suddenly he let out a hearty laugh. Hakone Demon Fiend and the others smiled as well. Only Invincible Jean sneaked a peek at the Heavenly Array. The 9 Wind Divine Dragons traveled at high speed with Xiaolan following closely behind. They were shuttling through the starry sky at high speed. The planets in the Imperial Star Domain didn't sense them passing by at such a terrifying speed. 2 days passed quickly, and there were only a few planets with life left in the vicinity. The Heavenly Witch Domain was just ahead. The Heavenly Witch Domain was once a relatively famous domain in the starry sky. The Heavenly Witch Domain shamans were the most feared existences in the entire starry sky. In the past, the Heavenly Witch Domain had 2 second-order god emperors, but the 2 of them could at least fight against 4 to 5 existences of the same level. Therefore, the Heavenly Witch Domain used to be exceptionally powerful in the starry sky. Its overall strength ranked 3rd. The Heavenly Witch Domain was larger than the Imperial Star Domain. The entire star domain had a dark hue. Compared to the sacred region, this place was much darker. 90% of the people in the Heavenly Witch domain were array masters who wanted to become a shaman. However, the array masters in the Heavenly Witch domain had more branches. Some, in order to increase their strength, would transfer the bodies of demonic beasts or desolate beasts to their own bodies. In order to increase their strength, they would hunt countless humans to conduct experiments and refine powerful weapons. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. And the Shaman Association was the ruler of this world. The Heavenly Witch domain's flying vehicles were made from the bodies of desolate beasts and demonic beasts. There were also some flying vehicles arranged with arrays. It lacked the feeling of science fiction and was full of magic. The Shaman Association was the ruler of the Heavenly Witch domain, but they did not directly govern all the planets. In the Heavenly Witch domain there were other forces of various sizes. Woo woo woo. Roar roar roar. In the starry sky of the Heavenly Witch domain, a deep roar filled with heart-palpitating power resounded, and a powerful pressure filled the surroundings. Several roars announced the arrival of the Dragon Palace. The dragon descends into the Heavenly Witch domain. What a terrifying roar. What a giant beast. Is it so fast? Those 9 creatures, no, 11 terrifying creatures, what are they? Giant space beasts? The roars attracted the attention of some nearby life planets. One by one, figures flew into the starry sky. When they saw the giant creatures flying past, their pupils shrank and their faces were filled with fear. Chapter 2880. That's a divine dragon, a void beast? What a terrifying aura. It's at least at the God Emperor level. Hey, look at that beast, there are humans on it. Look at what those 9 terrifying creatures are pulling behind them. What is that? God carriage? Why do I think those 9 creatures look like divine dragons? Are they really divine dragons? The group from Dragon Palace flew quickly in Heavenly Witch region. As they got closer to the center of Heavenly Witch region, there were more life planets and more experts. More and more people saw the 9-wind divine dragons pulling the dragon carriage. 2 giant beasts carried the experts from Dragon Palace. Especially the 9-wind divine dragons and Xiaolan's terrifying aura. The God Emperor's aura caused the experts from Heavenly Witch region who were closer to them to turn pale. The irresistible aura made them feel fear. As time passed, there was more and more news about the giant beasts flying on the communication network of Heavenly Witch region. They are flying towards the center of Heavenly Witch region. After 6 or 7 days, many powerhouses on the Sky Witch domain's communication network were shocked to discover that a dozen huge behemoths were flying towards the center of the Sky Witch domain. The center of Heavenly Witch region was where the Shaman Association was. Another 2 days passed and some people took pictures of the scene. In the picture, 9 creatures with huge wings were pulling a dragon carriage. On the left and right sides, there were 2 giant beasts and on those beasts there were figures. The picture was slightly blurry but even so, it caused a huge stir in Heavenly Witch region. Especially some experts from Shaman Association and Imperial Court, they immediately recognized those were the 2 giant beasts from Dragon Palace. Dragon King might be coming. When this news came out, it caused a huge stir. 5 years ago, Shaman Association headed to Imperial Star region to kill and revive Sky Array God Emperor. But what the entire Heavenly Witch region did not expect was that Shaman Association would return in defeat. Countless people from the Imperial dynasty returned together with him. Later they learned that Shaman Association allied with Imperial Court, but still lost to Dragon Palace. Now, in a short 5 years Dragon Palace actually came over. This caused the entire Heavenly Witch region to boil. The Dragon Palace attacked us directly. Aren't they too arrogant? How dare they enter the depths of our Heavenly Witch region? Courting death. Does the Dragon Palace really think that they can destroy our Wizard Association? As long as they dare to come over, we will definitely make them pay a heavy price. Our Witch Association has been established in the Heavenly Witch region for nearly 1 billion years. No faction has ever dared to attack us. A few 100 million years ago, our Witch Association experts killed the Colored Glaze God Emperor, but they didn't dare to attack us. On the communication network of the Heavenly Witchcraft domain, countless people were discussing. The members of the Wizard Association in particular, were filled with anger and disdain for the Dragon Palace's attack. Everyone in the entire bedazzling starry sky knew that Array Masters possessed the strength to fight against those of a higher level. Moreover, they were best at defense. If a Formation Master took the initiative to attack, he might be able to fight 1 against 2. However, if he was given enough time and they were fully prepared, he would be able to take on 4 of them at once. This was the strength of an array master. It was even more so for them to become the powerhouses of the Wizard Association. Now that they knew that the Dragon Palace might have invaded, countless members of the Wizard Association were filled with disdain and scolded the Dragon Palace for being too arrogant. Of course, there were also people who said that the Dragon Palace only attacked because they were confident. After all, the Sky Array God Emperor had joined the Dragon Palace. Sky Array understood the Wizard Association better, so it was impossible for them to attack blindly. They must be confident. However, there were not many people who said that. Damn it, the Dragon Palace actually invaded. Their strength must have increased again. Otherwise, why would they dare to attack? At this very moment, at the center of the Heavenly Witch region, at the Witch Mountain, within the highest mountain peak, the Son of Heaven of the Wizard Association slammed the table heavily with an ugly expression. His expression kept changing. The Dragon Palace actually attacked. His teacher actually attacked. Emperor Lord, have you contacted God Emperor Shenwu of the Imperial Court? At the frontmost position, the sorcerer glanced at the Son of Heaven, then looked at the Emperor Lord and asked. Not yet. According to the time, he and 8 Desolation God Emperor should need more than a month to reach here. I don't know if they are in a hurry or for some other reason, but they haven't replied. The Emperor Lord frowned slightly and shook his head. They didn't receive any news about what happened in the sanctuary. The distance was too far. As they had to come with 8 Desolation God Emperor, they couldn't return to their own holy kingdom directly. Hence, it would take a few months to reach the Heavenly Witch region by flying. Based on the time, they wouldn't be able to make it here even if they were to travel at their fastest speed. I think the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace should already know that 8 Desolation is going to join forces with us. Hence, he attacked and is prepared to take a gamble. The Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court guessed with flickering eyes. I agree with this. No matter how fast they improve, it's impossible to double their strength. 8 Desolation and our alliance should be under great pressure, so they are prepared to take a gamble. An Emperor God from the Witchcraft Association nodded in agreement. Tianjin, he isn't a fool. I know him better than all of you. If he isn't confident, why would he ask the Dragon King to attack us? The Son of Heaven looked at them and said with a gloomy face. He didn't agree with the Emperor Lord. He knew his teacher very well. His teacher knew the power of the Wizard Association. If he wasn't confident, would the Dragon Palace attack? The strength of the Dragon Palace is already stronger than before, the sorcerer said with a bitter face. He waved his arm and a picture of 9 wind divine dragons appeared. Compared to the picture on the communication network of the Heavenly Witch region, this picture was clearer. What creature is this? Why does it look like a divine dragon? It looks like the legendary divine dragon. Could it be a divine dragon? In an instant, the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court and the other Emperor gods stood up and shouted. It should be a creature with the bloodline of the divine dragon. These 9 creatures are at the level of an Emperor God. In the battle 5 years ago, the Dragon Palace didn't have these 9 Emperor God creatures. The sorcerer said with a solemn face. 9 Emperor Gods? Hearing his words, the Sovereign Lord and the others' expressions slowly turned ugly. 5 years ago, the Dragon Palace had more than a dozen Emperor Gods. Now there were 9 more. In just 5 years. This kind of improvement was too terrifying. This kind of enemy was too terrifying. Emperor Lord, what should we do now? I'd meet up with 8 Desolation? The Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court looked gloomy as he clenched his fists. The Dragon Palace must be afraid that we will join forces with 8 Desolation at this time. That also means that the strength of the Dragon Palace is not as strong as after we joined forces with 8 Desolation. The sorcerer's eyes flickered. The Wizard Association has been in the Heavenly Witch region for 1 billion years. In terms of defense, they are not afraid of any invasion. Chapter 2881, Sorcerer, are you confident? On Wu Mountain, the Emperor looked at the sorcerer in front of him and asked. The Sorcerer Association has been around for 1 billion years. The entire Wu Mountain has been built by over 20 generations of sorcerers and strengthened by close to 100 Emperor Gods. The entire defense of Wu Mountain is extremely strong. Although the Heavenly Formation knows the Sorcerer Association well, he doesn't know how strong we are after all the formations are activated. Forget about the Heavenly Formation at its peak. Even if there were 2 or 3 Heavenly Formations at its peak, they wouldn't be able to break the defense of the Sorcerer Association. The sorcerer stood there proudly and said confidently. Looking at the sorcerer's confidence, the Emperor of the Imperial Court and the other Emperor Gods were relieved. That's great. I believe in the experts of the Sorcerer Association when it comes to defense. The Emperor heaved a sigh of relief and said. Even the Emperor, who was seated at the side, relaxed. He heaved a sigh of relief and closed his eyes. The resurrection of his master had indeed put him under immense pressure. He had only joined the Sorcerer Association for a mere 10 million years. He didn't know much about the secrets of the Sorcerer Association. As long as they could fend off the invasion of Dragon Palace, everything would be fine. Since Dragon Palace dares to attack, the Sorcerer Association will make them pay the price. Gather all the experts, set up the formation and await their arrival. The sorcerer looked at the Emperor gods of the Sorcerer Association and gave the order coldly. Yes, Sir Sorcerer. The group of god emperors immediately nodded their heads as a sinister expression appeared on their faces. Very soon, the entire Sorcerer Association and the entire Wu Mountain started moving. Countless experts set up formations around Wu Mountain. Even an Emperor god of the Sorcerer Association set up a formation personally. The sorcerers entered the Wu Mountains one by one and activated the long-sealed arrays. The Sorcerer Association had spent 1 billion years building the entire Wu Mountain. Many Emperor gods had left their powerful formations there. When the formation was activated, they believed that Wu Mountain would be indestructible. We have confirmed that Dragon Palace is about to attack. Those monsters are experts from Dragon Palace. All the experts of the Sorcerer Association are setting up the formation. Those monsters are at the Emperor God level. The strength of Dragon Palace is really terrifying. The Witch Association's greatest strength lies in its array formations and defensive battles. Coupled with Wu Mountain, the territory that the Witch Association has built for nearly 1 billion years, it's wishful thinking for the Dragon Palace to attack. With the defense of Wu Mountain, even if they had twice the power of the Witches Association, it would still be difficult to break through. Furthermore, there are experts from the Imperial Court there. Back then, Jianghu Hui led the experts to attack the Dragon Palace. I didn't expect the Dragon Palace to invade in just 5 years. On the communication network of the Heavenly Witchcraft Territory, when everyone saw the experts and disciples of the Witch Association being summoned back, they received a message from the experts of the Witch Association. The news of the Dragon Palace's invasion was confirmed. However, the people of the Heavenly Witchcraft region, as well as the experts and disciples of the Witchcraft Association, were full of confidence in this defensive battle. The strongest aspect of an array formation was its defense. Coupled with the Witch Guild's billion-year heritage, they had enough information to defend against the Dragon Palace's attack. Time passed day by day. At Wu Mountain, countless experts of the Witchcraft Association had gathered. Powerful formations were set up one after another. They stood on Wu Mountain and waited quietly. As the army of the Dragon Palace got closer, the number of vital planets in the central region increased. On the communication network of the Heavenly Witchcraft Territory, more and more information about the army of the Dragon Palace was released. It could be said that the route of the Dragon Palace was under the control of the entire Heavenly Witchcraft Territory. Dragon King were almost there. In the Dragon Sedan, Wang Xian leaned back and sipped on tea while reading up on the information and developments of the Heavenly Witchcraft Territory. Prime Minister Turtle walked in and reported to Wang Xian. Almost there? He put down the book beside him and stood up slowly. We'll reach Wu Mountain in about an hour. The Witch Association should have known of our arrival and are already waiting for us. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. Then let's see how strong a force that has been in this star region for 1 billion years is. Wang Xian walked out of the Dragon Sedan slowly and came to the Dragon Throne in front. He sat on it and looked around. The center of the Heavenly Witchcraft Territory was unusually prosperous with many vital planets around it. At this time, many experts were floating in the sky above these vital planets and looking in their direction. Wang Xian smiled faintly and looked ahead. An hour passed quickly. At the same time, at the entrance of Wu Mountain, hundreds of millions of people stood on Wu Mountain. Many experts arranged themselves in a formation, holding powerful weapons in their hands. 9 figures stood in the center at the front. Sorcerer, Emperor, Lord. 1 Emperor God from the Imperial Court and 6 other Emperor Gods from the Witch Association. The Emperor God on the far left looked a little weak. At this moment, his eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at the void in front of him. His enemy was coming. In the battle millions of years ago, his body was severely damaged by the sky array, resulting in an incurable injury. His current strength was the weakest among the Emperor Gods. He didn't go to the Imperial Star region the previous time. They're coming. In the center, the Emperor of the Imperial Court gripped his scepter tightly. Pale radiant energy emanated from his body as he stared ahead with reddened eyes. Blurry figures appeared one by one. It was the group of people in front that had turned the imperial court into stray dogs. Now the other party was chasing after them and wanted to annihilate them. Ka. The Emperor Lord's fist made cracking sounds as he exerted force. The other Emperor God beside him was also filled with murderous intent and anger. However, they didn't know that the other Emperor God from the imperial court had already been killed by Wang Xian. Hoot hoot hoot. At this moment, a deafening roar was heard. The dragon might of the divine dragon. The savage might of Jianghu. The terrifying roar and aura surged towards them. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. On Wu Mountain, all the disciples of the Witch Association and some experts from the imperial court raised their weapons and were filled with murderous intent. Murderous intent filled the air. Those 9 creatures. The eyes of the imperial court overlord sorcerers locked onto the 9-wind divine dragons, their eyes filled with solemn expressions. These 9 creatures were very similar to the divine dragons they had seen in the history books. In fact, they were almost identical. Looking at the 9 creatures face to face, they felt a strong sense of danger. On Wu Mountain, the other experts and disciples of the Witch Association had the same feeling. Are those true dragons? Stop. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne and looked at the countless people of the Witch Association and the imperial court as he spoke plainly. Hoot hoot hoot. The divine dragons roared and Jianghu growled as they stopped in their tracks. They faced the people of Wu Mountain from afar. Chapter 2882. Dragon's Wrath. 3-inch. 5 years ago, you attacked our dragon palace. 5 years later, our dragon palace is here. Don't you feel that time flies? In the void in front of Wu Mountain, the dragon palace and the Jianghu Association imperial court faced each other from a distance. Wang Xian looked at the group of sorcerer overlords and stood up from the dragon throne with a faint smile on his face. If it weren't for the current situation, his words would sound like a greeting to an old friend that he hadn't seen for a long time. Dragon King, don't be so arrogant. It won't be long before the end of the dragon palace. When the emperor of the imperial court heard Wang Xian's words, he couldn't maintain his composure at all as he bellowed furiously. "Aha, a stray dog still dares to bark." Wang Xian laughed out loud and shouted with a mocking face. His words caused the expressions of everyone in the imperial dynasty to turn really ugly. "Dragon King, I don't know who gave you the confidence to attack the heavenly witchcraft domain and our witchcraft association. Is it that old thing, Sky Formation?" The sorcerer stared at Wang Xian coldly and questioned him. "Ah, wizard, as long as I'm alive, your wizard association will always be on tenterhooks. Now that I'm here, you should welcome me warmly. After all, it's about to end and you can't always worry about me killing my way here." On Little Blue's body, Sky Matrix laughed and stared at the wizard with murderous eyes. "Worried? Our witch association was able to kill you once in the past, and we can still kill you now. Dragon King, our witch association has been in the heavenly witch domain for 1,000,000,000 years. Do you think you can destroy us with your strength? Today I will make you pay a terrible price. Today I'll let an arrogant fellow like you witness the power of our wizard association." The sorcerer's aura surged forward, his face filled with rage. All right. Today I want to see the power of the wizard association. I want to see the power of an organization that has stood strong for 1,000,000,000 years. I hope you won't disappoint our dragon palace. Wang Xian's eyes were sharp as he lifted his head slightly and spoke loudly. "Every great battle will be recorded in the history books, and every battle will have a name. Why don't I name it first? Let's call it the Battle of Dragon Punishment." He continued to speak indifferently. The Battle of Dragon Punishment. This was also the first real battle of a purebred divine dragon stepping into the resplendent starry sky. Battle of Dragon Punishment? Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, the sorcerer overlord and the rest revealed an embarrassed look. Arrogant. The two of them roared and stared coldly at Wang Xian. "Aha, members of Dragon Palace, get ready." Wang Xian laughed out loud and waved his arm. Boom boom boom. All the members of the Dragon Palace immediately flew down from Xiaolan's body. A group of Emperor God-level experts from Dragon Palace floated around the 9-wind divine dragons. Waves of vast and terrifying aura surged forward. Are these all the Emperor Gods of the Dragon Palace? SSS, including the 9 living beings, there are more than 20 Emperor Gods in the Dragon Palace. When all the Emperor Gods of the Dragon Palace appeared, all the experts and disciples of the Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court on Wu Mountain in front of them were shocked. There were more than 20 Emperor gods. Even though they did not unleash their full power, their terrifying aura still made them feel extremely pressured. Even the sorcerer overlord and the rest were shocked. More than 20 Emperor gods. There were more than 20 Emperor gods in the Dragon Palace. In just 5 years, the number of Emperor gods in the Dragon Palace had almost doubled. Sis, look, those are all Emperor gods of the Dragon Palace. How can there be so many of them? More than 20 Emperor gods. Can the Witchcraft Association hold them off? More than 20. This Dragon Palace is so strong. No wonder they dared to attack us directly. This force is too terrifying. At this time, some experts from the Heavenly Witchcraft domain were lurking in the surrounding void a distance away. This vast battle had a great impact on the Heavenly Witchcraft domain. Experts from other forces in the Heavenly Witchcraft domain naturally came over to investigate. Seeing the Emperor gods of the Dragon Palace, they were terrified. Mount Wu Misty Rain Array activate. Heavenly Secret Killing Array activate. Sorcerer Shadow Array activate. Lianshan Vast Earth Array activate. Sorcerer World Array activate. The sorcerer swept his gaze across the Emperor gods of the Dragon Palace and roared with a cold expression. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. When the sorcerer recited the name of a large array, the entire Wu Mountain shook. The vast array instantly enveloped a radius of 100 billion kilometers, including the entire Wu Mountain. A wave of mighty energy surged into the void. 7 great formations slowly rose up. That extremely frightening energy frantically surged out in all directions. Clouds and mist shrouded the Wu Mountain. A majestic shadow wearing a bamboo hat floated in the middle of the Wu Mountain. Wu Mountain was connected and murderous intent was everywhere. The entire Wu Mountain had become a sorcerer world. The 7 large arrays formed an incomparably powerful defense. Wang Xian stood on the dragon throne and watched the terrifying arrays rise. His eyes were beaming with astonishment. Our witchcraft array has not risen for hundreds of millions of years. Dragon King, I'd like to see how you can break our defense. If you can't annihilate us today, the Witchcraft Association will annihilate you next. The sorcerer stared at Wang Xian and roared sternly. All disciples of the Witchcraft Association, prepare to attack. The sorcerer raised his hands and the Purgatory World Array diagram appeared above him as he continued to order. Kill. A deafening voice filled with murderous intent reverberated in the center of the Heavenly Witchcraft domain. Waves of energy gathered on the Wu Mountain. Bring it on. The Emperor held the scepter of light in his hand and floated up slowly. 2 pairs of holy wings of light appeared behind him. Let the battle of dragon punishment begin. Kill. Wang Xian commanded loudly with a cold look on his face. Howl howl howl. Howl howl howl. When Wang Xian gave the order, the group of Emperor gods from the Dragon Palace at the front let out a roar. They immediately got into their battle mode and raging energy soared into the sky. In the middle, the 9 divine wind dragons raised their heads and flapped their huge wings. They were the first to charge forward. Their eyes were filled with fighting spirit as they charged forward. The Wu Mountain ahead was shrouded by 7 terrifying arrays. The moment the 9 wind divine dragons attacked, the vast and majestic sorcerer shadow above the Wu Mountain charged towards the 9 divine dragons with a powerful aura. In the middle of the vast sorcerer shadow were waves of terrifying murderous intent. We are the wind divine dragons. The 3 second order God Emperor Realm wind divine dragons in the middle swayed their bodies and flapped their wings. In the next instant, the heavens and earth changed as a violent gale descended upon the void. Chapter 2883, Dragon Punishment 4 Boom Boom Boom. Windstorm, a terrifying windstorm. In front of Wu Mountain there were 7 great arrays. The 7 wind divine dragons that were the first to fly over let out a roar when they saw Witch Shadow attacking them. Their wings flapped rapidly. In an instant the entire sky seemed to have undergone a terrifying change. At its peak, sky formation might not be as strong as 1 second order God Emperor Realm Wind Divine Dragon, but 3 second order God Emperor Realm Wind Divine Dragons could instantly destroy sky formation. The 2 sky formations at their peak were comparable to the 3 second order God Emperor Realm Wind Divine Dragons from the Dragon Palace. Shaman and the others predicted that Wu Mountain's defense could withstand at least 3 sky formations at his peak. Of course there was a prerequisite. He, the Lord, and the other God Emperors had to attack together. Hence, when the 9 wind divine dragons attacked, the world in front of Wu Mountain changed. Boom boom boom. The wind elemental laws rumbled and instantly enveloped the entrance of Wu Mountain. A terrifying hurricane attacked the witch shadow. Bam bam bam. The witch shadow formed by the array met the hurricane head-on without any intelligence. A violent collision sound rang out, and the incomparably huge witch shadow slowly collapsed. That terrifying hurricane, as if it was going to destroy the world, continued to charge forward. Just the attack of the 9 wind divine dragons was enough to stop the shaman, the lord, and all the experts and disciples of the two forces. They looked at the incoming hurricane in horror, their hearts beating violently. Too fast. The wind divine dragon's attack was too fast. In just the first round of collisions, the witch shadow collapsed. Moreover, the terrifying hurricane continued to attack them. Those 9 creatures roared just now. Are they wind divine dragons? Wind divine dragons. Sky Formation's eyes widened as he looked at the attack in front of him in shock. All members of the Witchcraft Association, attack, attack. Strengthen the array, strengthen the array. The wizard looked at the scene in front of him and heard the voice of the Son of Heaven. His heart beat violently and he shouted. Purgatory world, block it. He roared. The array diagram floating above him attacked the hurricane in front of him. Kill, kill, kill. On the surrounding Wu Mountain, all the experts and disciples came to their senses and immediately shouted. Beams of energy shrouded the area ahead. Billions of people launched their own attacks, and it was like a natural disaster that covered everything in front of them. Boom boom boom. The sound of an explosion rang out and the violent sound covered everything. The hurricane was stopped and was stuck in the void. Half of the world was windy and the other half was chaotic. Slowly the world of wind was destroyed. All the attacks of the imperial court weren't something that the 9 wind god dragons could block. Even so, the fact that the 9 divine wind dragons were able to force them to this point was already very terrifying. He bear the wrath of the dragon god. Yamada no Orochi let out a roar. He moved and charged forward. At the forefront, the other dozen emperor gods of Dragon Palace also dashed over. Their bodies carried a terrifying aura. Woo woo woo. Woo woo woo. Xiaolan and the rest raised their heads and let out a deep roar. They charged towards the rising array. Block it with all your might. Activate all the arrays. The shaman's face turned ugly when he saw all the attacks from the Dragon Palace. Oh no, Lord Shaman, the 3 divine dragon-like creatures in the center are all second-order God Emperor realm experts. The moment the shaman's words fell, one of the emperor gods of Dragon Palace shouted with an ugly expression on his face. The Dragon Palace has 4 second-order God Emperor realm experts. The Emperor Lord beside him clenched his fists and shouted. They could clearly feel the attack from the 9 divine wind dragons. It was very powerful. Now that the other dozen Emperor gods of Dragon Palace were charging over, how were they going to block it? It's not that we can't block it. Activate all the arrays and we can block at least 4 to 5 second-order God Emperor realm experts. The shaman gritted his teeth and shouted. Kill. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved and flew up into the sky, setting up several formations around him. The strength of the Dragon Palace had completely exceeded their expectations. Especially the number of second-order God Emperor realm experts. 4 to 5 second-order God Emperor realm experts? Even if the Dragon King is a second-order God Emperor realm expert, he should be able to block it. The Emperor Lord's eyes lit up when he heard the shaman's words. In a flash, he flew up into the sky and launched a barrage of attacks. Heaven Fake Killing Array Attack. One of the Emperor Gods of Dragon Palace controlled the array with a solemn expression, blocking the attacks from the Dragon Palace's Emperor Realm experts. Every single one of the 7 great formations possessed immense power. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the arrays here could kill a First-Order God Emperor. However, the Dragon Palace had too many Emperor Gods. The Great Sorcerer Shadow Array was destroyed in an instant. So. Countless wind blades covered the front and attacked the Emperor Gods of Dragon Palace. However, to Roving Heavens and the other Emperor Gods, the formation posed no threat at all. They're fighting. The strength of the Dragon Palace seems to be beyond our expectations. Those 9 creatures call themselves Divine Wind Dragons. Are they real Divine Dragons? Those 9 Divine Dragons are so powerful. Hiss, they broke through the Witch Union's array in an instant. The war has broken out. The strength displayed by the Dragon Palace is terrifying. Can the Witch Union defend against them? Some experts of the heavenly witchcraft domain hidden in the surrounding void shivered slightly when they saw the war erupt completely and felt the waves of mighty energy. If they were to enter such a war, there wouldn't be anything left of them. Woo. Mountain Link Vast Earth Formation, stop that giant beast. At this time Xiaolan arrived in front of the Witch Union. The Witch Master looked at Xiaolan and ordered with a gloomy expression. He had fought with Xiaolan before and he couldn't do anything to it. Looking at Xiaolan, his expression kept changing. He was confident that the Witch Union could defend against 4 to 5 second-order God Emperor Realm experts. However, this was only against ordinary second-order God Emperor Realm experts. This beast was terrifying and could probably crush anyone in the same realm. Mountain Link Vast Earth Array Mountain Earth Soul Defend. Below, the experts of the Witch Union heard the Witch Master's order and activated the Mountain Link Vast Earth Array. Mountains condensed from laws appeared out of thin air and bombarded Little Blue. Whoa! When Xiaolan saw the mountains coming towards it, its body emitted a grayish energy as it collided with the mountains. Chapter 2884. Dragon Punishment 5-inch Boom. Little Blue's enormous body, which was more than 100 kilometers long, slammed heavily into the Mountain Link Vast Earth Formation, causing the entire space to tremble. Ka. Very soon, cracks started to appear on the powerful formation protecting Wu Mountain. Buzz. Woo. Little Blue's body trembled slightly, and it let out a low roar. The defensive mountain peaks formed from the earth element quickly crumbled and turned into dust. Not good, the vast earth formation has been broken. The experts of the Witchcraft Association were horrified as they shouted in shock. The shaman turned around and his heart sank when he saw this. The Emperor Lord's expression changed and he had a bad feeling about this. You must be careful. With a thought, he reminded another God Emperor from the Imperial Court. That God Emperor was taken aback and he gritted his teeth. He knew what the Emperor Lord meant. His gaze swept across Fang Imperial Court's disciples, and he clenched his fists tightly as he stared at the members of the Dragon Palace. At this moment, a series of terrifying roars rang out. The 9 wind divine dragons in the center flapped their enormous wings, and countless miniature wind divine dragons appeared around them. Each of the miniature divine wind dragons seemed to have come to life. They let out a dragon roar and charged forward to attack. This attack. The shaman controlling the formation in the center felt his heart tighten when he saw the 9 wind divine dragons attacking again. Witchcraft World Formation, Mount Wu's Misty Rain Formation, Defend. The shaman waved his arm, and the 2 formations rose into the air, flying towards the countless wind attribute divine dragons. The Witchcraft World and Mount Wu's Misty Rain Formation were the 2 strongest formations of the Witchcraft Union. The 2 great formations had been built, modified, and strengthened for 1 billion years. Now, the 2 great formations could cover the entire Wu Mountain. Moreover, when the 2 formations were activated, a second-order God Emperor Realm expert attacked them, but they didn't budge. Even if there were 2 or 3 second-order God Emperor Realm experts, they could forget about breaking this array formation. Boom. Pa. However, when the attacks of the countless wind attribute divine dragons landed on the 2 formations, a scene that struck fear into the hearts of everyone in the Witch Clan appeared. The small wind divine dragons formed by the wind attribute attacked the 2 formations, causing cracks to appear on them. Especially when the wizard saw this scene, his heart sank. Huang Xiaolong was confident that he could withstand the attacks of 4 to 5 second-order God Emperor Realm experts because of these 2 formations. These 2 were the legacy spell formations of the Magus Guild. But now, their inheritance formation was slowly cracking apart. This caused him to have a bad premonition. Since the start of the battle, the Witchcraft Guild and the others had been using the formation to defend themselves. They had not clashed directly. However, the formations were broken one by one, and they were broken so easily. Then, Sorcerer, the formation is about to break, the formation is about to break. At this moment, Tianzi, who was standing at the side, shouted at the Sorcerer with a pale face. Spell formations were their strongest trump card. As powerful spell formation masters and shamans who relied on spell formation masters as their foundation, once the spell formation was broken, they would lose all other means. If even the spell formations couldn't withstand it, the ending that awaited them was imaginable. Shut up, I know. The Sorcerer roared in frustration. He knew the consequences of the spell formations being broken. Another roar came from the center of the formation. The 9 wind divine dragons flapped their incomparably huge dragon wings and charged towards the Shaman World and Mount Wu's Misty Rain Formation. Bam. With their terrifying speed, they charged directly in front of the 2 spell formations. Violent collisions resounded. Crash. It was as if the mirror protecting Mount Wu had shattered. In the next moment, terrifying dragon roars resounded. Waves of majestic dragon might appeared in front of all the experts and disciples of the Witchcraft Guild and Imperial Court. The spell formations were broken. In less than 2 minutes, they're broken. The 5 spell formations of the Witchcraft Guild are all broken. Assist so fast. That's the Witchcraft Guild of our heavenly witchcraft territory. They've been the overlord for 1 billion years and have a terrifying heritage. Yet they're broken so quickly. Those 9 wind divine dragons are so terrifying. Only real divine dragons can be so terrifying, right? The Dragon Palace is too powerful, especially those 9 divine dragons. They're exactly the same as the wind divine dragons in the records. They're definitely real divine dragons. The experts of the heavenly witchcraft territory who were hiding in the surrounding void and watching the battle were dumbfounded. Their spell formations, the overlord of the heavenly witchcraft territory and the witchcraft guild that was best at defense, were quickly broken. In less than 2 minutes, the spell formations that protected the entire Mount Wu had collapsed. If the Witchcraft Guild doesn't have a trump card, they're finished. Everyone thought to themselves. Oh no, they're attacking. Guardian, they're attacking. Lord Sorcerer. When the 9 wind divine dragons entered the territory of Mount Wu, the experts and disciples of the Witchcraft Guild standing on Mount Wu had a drastic change of expression as they roared in horror. Facing the 9 terrifying wind divine dragons, they felt that they weren't on the same level as them at all. If the 9 wind divine dragons moved even a little, they would die. There was a huge difference in their lives. Oh no! The sorcerer's expression changed drastically. The defense of the Witchcraft Guild that he was so proud of had been broken so easily. How were they going to fight next? D****. The foreheads of the few emperor gods of the Witchcraft Guild were filled with cold sweat. Haha, Space Seal. The Witchcraft Guild has been more than 10 million years. More than 10 million years. I've waited for more than 10 million years. Today I'm going to destroy you. At that moment, Sky Formation, who hadn't made a move and had been preparing, let out an excited roar. Buzz buzz buzz. As he spoke, their bodies separated one by one. 9 heads of 9 different attributes flew in all directions. Rays of light shot out from each of the heads. 9 types of light shone on the entire area, covering half of Mount Wu. In front, all the emperor gods, experts, and disciples of the Witchcraft Guild were shrouded in it. Space Seal. This was the array formation that Sky Formation had been preparing ever since he learned that the Dragon Palace was going to attack the Heavenly Witch Domain. Not good. At that moment, the sorcerer's expression changed drastically. Boom boom boom. As the array formation collapsed, the group of emperor gods from the Dragon Palace rushed in. Behind them, the 100,000 Dragon Palace disciples also rushed in. How can this be? The Emperor Lord looked at this scene with a face full of unwillingness. He knew that the Witchcraft Guild was finished. In this short battle, he could sense that the 3 second-order God Emperor Realm Wind Divine Dragons were not people that a second-order God Emperor like him could compare to. It wasn't an injustice that the Witchcraft Guild's defense was destroyed, because the other party was a true divine dragon. Chapter 2885. Dragon Punishment 6-inch. Damn it, why is the Dragon Palace so strong? How can this be? The 5 arrays crumbled one by one. The shaman's blood-red eyes stared at the Dragon Palace's experts, his body trembling. Before the battle, he was confident that the Witchcraft Union's array could defend this place. When the Inheritance Array was fully activated, 4 to 5 second-order God Emperor Realm experts could defend against it. But now it only lasted for 2 minutes. This was a domineering suppression. He knew that the Witchcraft Union was no match for the Dragon Palace. The Witchcraft Union was finished. Shaman, our space has been sealed. We can't escape back to the Divine Kingdom. Our space has been sealed. At this time, a voice filled with fear and panic sounded again. The Emperor's face was pale as he looked around. He was panicking. He had lost his will to fight. How can the Dragon Palace be so strong? Not good. The Sky Array God Emperor has set up an array. We can't escape instantly. Is that a real divine dragon? Is that a real divine dragon? On Wu Mountain, countless powerful disciples of the Witchcraft Association panicked when they saw that the Dragon Palace had broken through their defenses. They growled in fear. Jia, go to hell for going against the Dragon Palace. Sky Array, do you want us to help you kill that disciple of yours? Roar, the Dragon Palace is awesome. Kill them. At this time, the excited roars of the 8-headed Devil Shah and Invincible Jean could be heard from the front. Continue to attack, kill them all. Prime Minister Turtle stood at the back and ordered loudly. Woo woo woo. The 9 divine dragons continued to roar. Their terrifying dragon might surged towards them. The barbaric aura of Xiaolan's residence filled the entire Wu Mountain. The doomsday of the Witchcraft Union was here. Kill them all. The shaman roared with bloodshot eyes as he saw the Dragon Palace's experts continue to attack. Boom boom boom. The experts and disciples on Wu Mountain gritted their teeth and released their strongest attacks towards the people of Dragon Palace. Bang bang bang. However, facing the attacks of the Dragon Palace's 24 God Emperor Realm experts, 4 of which were Second-Order God Emperor Realm experts. Without the protection of the array formation, they were powerless to resist. The 2 Wind Divine Dragons locked onto the Sovereign and the Wizard. The other God Emperors of the Imperial Court and Jianghu Association were instantly suppressed. A Divine Wind Dragon flapped its wings towards a Wu Mountain below it. The entire Sorcerer Mountain collapsed in an instant. The powerful cultivators of the Sorcerer Association were killed in an instant. An incomparably huge dragon claw swept past a Wu Mountain, and the entire mountain instantly crumbled into rubble. Everyone on it was easily killed. Lord Magus, we can't stop them. An Emperor God from the Sorcerer Association couldn't help but shout at the Sorcerer Association. Break the formation. Everyone escape. When the wizard heard this, his heart tightened. He gritted his teeth and growled. Members in the rear, attack the formation and break it. The group of protectors immediately ordered the disciples loudly. The Wizard Association has been defeated. They are trying to escape. This isn't a battle of the same level at all. It's a one-sided massacre. The Wizard Association is finished this time. A force that has stood strong for 1 billion years is heading towards destruction. Divine Dragon, the Wizard Association has offended the wrong people. The heavenly witchcraft domain powerhouses hiding in the surrounding void were somewhat moved when they heard the order full of unwillingness. This was the strongest existence in their heavenly witch domain. Now it was annihilated by the Dragon Palace. Trying to escape? It's too late. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was standing in front of the dragon throne, smirked when he saw this. The unbeginning saint wings appeared on his back as he squinted his eyes. Boom. In the next instant their figures disappeared. At this moment, the Wu Mountain was filled with endless screams. Facing so many God Emperors from the Dragon Palace, they had no way of defending themselves. Just you wait, Dragon Palace. Just you wait, Jianghu Association. One day we'll make you pay the price. Pay the price in blood. The sorcerer faced a Wind Divine Dragon. His body trembled as he controlled the Purgatory World Array diagram as he roared. His voice was filled with endless rage. His force was annihilated. The blood feud would not rest until one of them was dead. Sorcerer, you want to annihilate the Dragon Palace? You have a death wish. At this moment, a voice sounded in his ear. In an instant, the sorcerer's expression changed drastically as his forehead was covered in cold sweat. Oh no. His heart sank. In the next instant, the threat of death enveloped his entire body, causing his body to tighten. However, before he could do anything, he felt a sharp claw penetrating his body. Waves of destructive energy stirred in his body. The sorcerer's body stiffened completely. He widened his eyes and spun around in horror to see Wang Xian, who had appeared behind him. In case you have any trump cards to survive, soul assimilation. Wang Xian stared at the sorcerer with a smile. As the dragon claw stirred, a wave of energy spread towards the sorcerer's body. The sorcerer's life force was diminishing at a terrifying speed. How is this possible? Speed? His eyes widened and were filled with despair as he struggled to make a sound. His pupils slowly slackened. Waves of information entered Wang Xian's mind. Everything about the sorcerer and the secrets of the sorcerer were revealed. Lord Sorcerer. Oh no, Lord Sorcerer. The Dragon King killed our Lord Sorcerer. Trembling voices came from the surroundings as some experts and disciples of the Sorcerer Association shouted in horror. What? The Emperor of the Imperial Court turned around and his expression changed drastically. Looking at the Dragon King behind the sorcerer, his eyes were filled with fear. The sorcerer was killed instantly by the Dragon King's sneak attack. We can't stay here. Run, run, run. The Emperor of the Imperial Court murmured as he panicked. Run, run. The Sovereign Lord retreated rapidly as he roared at another Emperor God from the Imperial Court. Bark. The Emperor of the Imperial Court retreated behind the disciples of the Sorcerer Association and dodged the attack of the Wind Divine Dragon. However, the disciples of the Sorcerer Association were hit and a large number of them died instantly. At this moment, the Emperor of the Imperial Court could no longer care about the lives of others. His body trembled slightly as he disappeared gradually. Roar roar. The wind divine dragon roared furiously as several wind blades shrouded him. Countless wind blades fell on his position, but they couldn't stop him. The array set up by the Heaven Formation could only trap a First-Order God Emperor in the Void region. It was useless against a Rank 2 God Emperor. Emperor Lord. That Emperor God from the Imperial Court roared when he saw the Emperor Lord escaping. His figure turned illusory. But soon, his face turned pale and he revealed a look of despair. The sorcerer is dead and the Emperor Lord has escaped. Chapter 2886. The starry sky shook on, the shaman is dead, the Emperor has escaped. A horrified voice resounded in the battlefield. What? The shaman is dead, the Emperor Court Emperor has escaped. No no no, this terrifying light is stopping me from escaping back to my god nation, I can't escape. It's over, our shaman society is finished. Panic descended, the end of the shaman society had arrived. Everyone who received these two pieces of news broke down. The shaman was dead. The leader of the shaman society, the strongest expert of the shaman society, was dead. The Emperor Court Emperor, the leader of the Imperial Court, an expert who could rival the shaman, had escaped. He had escaped directly. What did this mean? It meant that the shaman society and the Imperial Court were completely defeated. Unexpectedly, they were doomed. Everyone's faces were filled with despair. What? The shaman was killed by the Dragon King? How is this possible? As it is, the Emperor Court Emperor has escaped. It's over, they are completely finished. How long has it been? Our Sky Shaman region shaman has been famous for more than 50 million years, and has absolute control over our Sky Shaman region, but now he was killed by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King's speed is so terrifying, I just saw the Dragon King sitting on the Dragon Throne. The Dragon King and the Dragon Palace are going to rule the entire Sky Shaman region. The Sky Shaman region experts hidden in the surrounding void were incomparably shocked. The strength displayed by the Dragon Palace shocked them, but they had always believed that even if the Shaman Society was defeated, they would not be defeated too thoroughly. They would never have thought that the shaman would actually fall here. This was the leader of the Shaman Society, with unimaginable means. To kill him was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Even with the Dragon Palace's powerful suppression power, it was hard to keep the shaman here. Because this kind of existence had many means to preserve their lives. But they were completely wrong. The shaman was killed by the Dragon King. While it was a surprise attack, the shaman did not react and did not put up any resistance, which showed how powerful the Dragon King was. The shaman's death, the Emperor Court Emperor's escape, announced that this war was over. I can't escape, I can't instantly return to my god nation. The Sky Array God Emperor has sealed this space, it's over, it's over. No no no. A terrified voice rang out. All the experts and disciples of the Shaman Association and Imperial Court were on the verge of collapsing. Even the 6 Emperor gods turned pale as they tried to find a chance to escape. However, they were disheartened when they saw the divine wind dragons attacking them one by one. That terrifying Dragon Palace mystical dragon wasn't something they could withstand. Kill them. They invaded our Dragon Palace and wanted to destroy us. Leave no one alive. The 100,000 members of Dragon Palace who were below the level of Emperor God were filled with murderous intent as they charged forward. The eyes of Yaki Demon Shah and the others locked onto the peak divine kings of the Sorcerer Association. Their figures flickered as they killed them rapidly. The one-sided massacre had begun. The Witchcraft Association was much stronger than the Imperial Court. They had more than 50 peak God Kings. There were 3 to 400 Ninth Order God King realm experts. There were more than 1 million experts above the God King realm. Although their numbers were similar to the Imperial Dynasty, their overall strength was several times that of the Imperial Dynasty. However, against the attacks of the Emperor Gods from Dragon Palace, their numbers were decreasing rapidly. No no no, I can't accept this. Not long after, an extremely shrill voice that was filled with unwillingness suddenly resounded. The members of the Witchcraft Association looked in the direction of the voice and trembled violently. A God Emperor powerhouse was killed. Boom boom boom. Arc. The death of an Emperor God seemed to have hastened the prelude to their demise. In less than 2 minutes, another 2 Emperor Gods let out a blood-curdling scream as their corpses slammed into a Magus mountain. Boom. Terrifying sounds of collision could be heard as their vitality faded away. Emperor Lord, Emperor Lord. The Emperor God from the imperial court lifted his head and bellowed in a low voice. Their Emperor Lord had already reminded him earlier. However, the creepy array had sealed the space around them. If they wanted to escape, they could only break through and fly out. However, they had no hope of breaking through from the 20-odd Emperor Gods. Death was slowly descending upon them. This feeling was enough to break an Emperor God's spirit. They didn't want to die. In the middle of the battlefield, Wang Xian carried the Emperor Lord's body and revealed a faint smile. He had guessed correctly. The sorcerer had a substitute puppet in his own holy kingdom. This was a treasure he had obtained from a secret realm. This substitute puppet was extremely powerful and could replace his death once. It could be said that this was a true life-saving measure. Summon your void holy kingdom. Wang Xian's voice exploded in the sorcerer's mind. The lifeless body of the sorcerer moved. In the sky above Wang Xian and him, an incomparably huge holy kingdom rose gradually. The holy kingdom spanned tens of thousands of kilometers and contained terrifying energy. Wang Xian moved, carried the sorcerer's body and flew towards his holy kingdom. What's this? The void holy kingdom of our Lord Sorcerer? Is our Lord Sorcerer still alive? Seeing the sudden appearance of the void holy kingdom, some experts and disciples of the Witchcraft Association were looking forward to it. However, the appearance of the Holy Kingdom didn't change their fates. We surrender, we surrender. Don't kill us, don't kill us. We're willing to hand over all our treasures. Don't kill us. When celestial thearchs and divine kings fell one by one, the disciples of the Sorcerer Association, who were on the Wu Mountain behind them, knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. They were really afraid. They had lost all hope of victory. Kneeling down and begging for mercy, this was their last chance. Some of them knelt down and surrendered. More and more disciples of the Witchcraft Association begged for mercy. Don't spare the God King experts. Don't give them any chance. At this time, the heavenly array's eerie voice sounded. Kill all the God King experts. The rest of the disciples of the Witchcraft Association kneeled down and begged for mercy. Prime Minister Turtle pondered for a moment before ordering loudly. Not a single deity king was spared. Whether it was the deity king's god nation or the deity king's body, they were all huge resources to the Dragon Palace. As for those below the god king level, they could spare them. After all, there were too many disciples of the Witchcraft Association. There were hundreds of billions of them. It was impossible to kill all of them. TSK. We've caught your precious disciple. Should we hand him over to you? At this time, Orochi's voice sounded. At the side, Roving Heavens and Aochi had completely bound the Emperor with blood-red chains. The 9 heads of the heavenly array looked over with cold, murderous intent in their eyes. Chapter 2887. The resplendent starry sky trembled and Master, no, give me a chance. Don't kill me, don't kill me. In the middle of the battlefield, the Emperor screamed in horror. He was completely restrained by the chains. Seeing the murderous intent in Tianjin's eyes, his body trembled violently and he begged for mercy. Just kill him directly. Let bygones be bygones. Tianjin stared at the disciple that he had taught for thousands of years. He closed his eyes slowly and said to Roving Heavens and the rest. You're too soft-hearted, old man. Let me torture him for you. Bachi laughed weirdly. In a flash, he came to the Emperor's side. With a swing of his arm, he gave him a slap on the face. Deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors will cost you your soul. As Bachi spoke, he waved his arm and dark energy surged towards the Emperor. Arga. A painful scream was heard. Tianjin closed his eyes and didn't move at all. The scream added a sense of horror to the entire battlefield. Some experts from the Witch Alliance shivered when they heard the scream from their Emperor God. What kind of pain could cause a God Emperor to be in such a miserable state? Bachi screamed weirdly. Black flesh and blood gushed out from his arm and entered his body, torturing him continuously. Arg. The screams reverberated. Other than some God King experts who were still resisting, the rest of the people on the battlefield were kneeling on the ground. The screams entered their ears, causing their bodies to tremble uncontrollably. Prime Minister Turtle, it's done. In less than 5 minutes, all the God King experts of the Witch Alliance were killed. Roving Sword flew over and reported to Prime Minister Turtle with a smile. 9 wind divine dragons roared excitedly in the sky above the battlefield. Their voices echoed throughout the entire Wu Mountain. They cooperated with everyone kneeling on Wu Mountain. This meant that the era of the Witch Alliance had ended and a new era was about to begin. Bocce Devilish, your venom horn dragon species should have gotten some information. Take over this area and lead some members to collect all the treasures. The rest of the Dragon Palace disciples, clean up the battlefield. Prime Minister Turtle ordered immediately. Yes. The group of Dragon Palace disciples responded immediately. But at this time Wang Xian walked out of the Void Holy Kingdom slowly and looked down. The 9 divine wind dragons let out a deep roar and flew towards Wang Xian, circling around him. Everyone's eyes were focused on the Dragon King in the sky. Their eyes were filled with awe and respect. In this battle, apart from the Emperor of the Imperial Court who had escaped, everyone else was left behind. All those above the God King realm were killed. The destruction of the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association was single-handedly caused by the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. They had annihilated the 2 great forces and killed the wizards of the Shaman Association. He led the Dragon Palace to rise in power in a short period of time. After today's battle, the Dragon Palace would shake the entire starry sky, destroying 2 great powers in one fell swoop, ending the era of 2 peak powers. This was terrifying to the extreme. I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. In the future, the Heavenly Witch domain will be taken over by the Dragon Palace. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. Wang Xian stood high above and scanned the crowd below him, as well as every corner of the void around him. As his voice trailed off, a series of terrifying dragon roars shook the heavens and earth. It was a declaration of the Dragon Palace's position in this void. Pay your respects to the Dragon King. Mo Sha looked down at all the disciples of the Shaman Association and the Imperial Court kneeling on Wu Mountain and shouted sternly. Greetings, Dragon King. On Wu Mountain, everyone's bodies trembled, and they immediately shouted out loud. Greetings, Dragon King. Shouts after shouts reverberated throughout the area. The Dragon King has found us. With the strength of the Dragon King, he can naturally sense our presence. The Dragon Palace is taking over the Heavenly Witch domain. With the terrifying strength of the Dragon Palace, surrender. The experts of the Heavenly Witch domain hiding in the void immediately revealed themselves. The Heavenly Witch domain was not unified by the Shaman Association, just like the Imperial Star domain in the past. Other than the Heavenly Witch domain, there were also a few great forces. Although they did not have Emperor Gods, they had many peak God Kings. At this moment, after witnessing the terrifying strength of the Dragon Palace, they did not dare to take any chances. One by one they revealed themselves. Greetings, Dragon King. They stood in the void and knelt down on one knee towards the Dragon King to pay their respects. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded lightly. Let's go to the center of the Shaman Association's Wu Mountain. He looked at the group of Dragon Palace members and flew towards the front of Wu Mountain. According to the information he received from Sorcerer, Wu Mountain was a huge treasure trove. A force that stood for 1 billion years, a nest that had been in operation for 1 billion years. Anything taken out from inside would be fought over by countless experts. It was no exaggeration to say that if all the treasures inside were exchanged for resources, the Dragon Palace could give birth to 12 Emperor Gods. Secondly, he had obtained many treasures from the Void God Kingdom of the Sorcerer. The more precious ones were the substitute puppets, which could represent one's death. It was definitely a life-saving treasure. In addition, there were all kinds of treasures and secret manuals about witchcraft. It was a huge treasure trove. Apart from these, the Dragon Palace killed 7 Emperor Gods, including Sorcerer. Sorcerer was a second-order God Emperor, so the Dragon Palace could have one more second-order God Emperor expert. The remaining 6 corpses can increase by 6. As for the Void Kingdom, the Devouring Dragon can absorb the excess. As for the rest, the Dragon Palace can absorb them first. The Dragon Palace can absorb the 9 attributes of the Void Kingdom and reach level 8. Wang Xian murmured, his eyes shining brightly. The harvest this time would definitely be terrifying. The resources he had were only at the Emperor God level. There were more than 50 peak God King corpses and a large number of treasures in their God Kingdom. In short, the Dragon Palace's strength would be greatly enhanced this time. The resources here are enough for me to improve again. He squinted his eyes and was in a good mood. He moved and soon arrived at the center of Wu Mountain. His gaze swept across the center of the major forces, and a smile appeared on his face. The Dragon King and the rest have gone to the center of Wu Mountain. I'm afraid the entire Heavenly Witchcraft domain will be in an uproar. In less than half an hour, the Witchcraft Union was defeated, Sorcerer was killed by the Dragon King, and the Emperor of the Imperial Court fled in fear. Not only the Witchcraft Union, but the entire resplendent starry sky will be in an uproar soon. The Dragon Palace is going to shake the world. In the void, the experts of the heavenly witchcraft domain muttered as they watched the Dragon King leave. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.